Okay, what an asshole. Was removed. Interesting. Really didn't like having a conversation, huh? Morning, Bears.
Morning.
How you doing today?
I'm doing okay. Busy having Grok fix my code.
As it can try to do.
Yeah, performance is a big deal, but there's profiling and stuff. So when I refactored a bunch of stuff, I came up with this idea of something called a pending database context,
Yeah.
which is it throws all the objects that are going to be saved. Okay, so with DuckDB, which is the database I'm using to collect all the information into, you can only have one writing thread, but you can have multiple readers. So the XML parsing has to unzip the XML, parse it, divide that up into a bunch of objects, and then it has to hand it off to what I call the consumer thread, which reads that pile of objects and then shoves them into the database, which DuckDB can shove 50,000 rows a second. So that's not a big deal. But coordinating multiple threads and all that is a pain in the butt and so on. So I built this database context. And of course, the charity object owns all the other objects, right? So the parsing code needs the charity object a lot. And I wasn't passing it through along with the context. Instead, originally context had a get charity and it had one copy. And so all of the code would just pull it out of the context. And I was grumpy because I had it running, parsing 200 files a second.
Mm-hmm.
And it would drop down to 2. And I have 2.8 million files to parse, right? So it's oh, I got to fix that because I don't want to spend days parsing. I want to do this in an hour. And so I had to brainstorm this morning of oh, hey, Grok, go build me a test fixture that does just the XML and mocks all the database and stuff like that. And then I'm having it do profiling runs on that. And it said, okay, this is how we're going to do it. And now it's down to, it can do 100 files in 0.9 seconds. So we're still not up to where we were, but yeah.
Well, have you considered trying to run the open source Grok locally to improve performance? Would it be good enough, or Grok Code is the only model that you're capable?
Grok Code Fast is free, and the big win now is this thing called Kilo, which is it integrates with Visual Studio, and I can say go do this, and it will go and it'll change the code dynamically. I used to have to copy the code and paste it to Grok and say, hey, there's a problem in here. Can you fix this? And it would say, oh, okay. And it would give me the snippet it wanted to change.
You're basically,
and it would be once the file got big, that was a pain in the butt. So it'd say, no, don't do that anymore. Give me the whole file. And I spent a week trying to get Grok to give me diffs and stuff that doesn't work. But now it Kilo Code does all the work. It's busy running right now and so on. So
is Kilo basically using your prompts as a prepend for the user message or system, perhaps?
Kilo comes with 4 different agents. There's Architect, which makes a plan, and checks it with you. There's code, which goes and writes code. There's debug, which like figures out problems, and there is ask, which asks you a question, and it switches those modes kind of automatically and runs in the back. So,
but it's essentially managing the prompt for you.
yeah, well, and it's managing the file, right? That's the key win there, is like it just goes and does it. So it did like the test fixture in like 30 seconds, and now I've been doing iterations of like, okay, go run 1,000 iterations and tell me what's slow now. And it's going and rewriting the parsing logic as I speak.
Interesting. Okay. Yeah, I haven't experimented with Kilo since you first mentioned it, but sounds like I should. Okay, cool. So let me bounce back to. So,
and the other fun thing with Grok is you can use like English. So I just said that the 990 PF farms were the red-headed stepchild. And I said, yeah, they are.
I'm sorry, say it again. Red-headed stepchild of what?
Of parsing the XML file. So it's not the one taking the time. It's always the 990, and that's the officer compensation parsing.
Sorry, my brain is all over the place. Did you found the link because I dropped it on one of the private chats, right?
The link for Restream, yeah.
Yeah, got it.
I had bookmarked it before, but
right. There should only be, and I'm only using two Restream configs now, one for the Wednesday meetings and one for the Saturday meetings. Mm-hmm. So you should be able to use those from now on to be a speaker or to join as a speaker. Trying to get other people to join. Interesting little factoid. I was asking before we get going on the regular schedule. I was asking Conservative Alternative to if he wanted to. I was basically trying to convince him to make accommodations so that we could start publishing the Wednesday meetings, like we discussed or talked about, I guess, in the past on Team Doge. He basically said it's too hard in kind of summarizing. And then,
that's annoying.
Yeah, I don't quite understand. Maybe there's something else going on that he's not able to talk to me about, I guess. That would make more sense. But he dropped out of the private chat we have. He dropped out of that group. So I guess that's a real answer. But whatever. I guess in a way that solves the problem of me trying to figure out and dissect why he's unwilling to let us publish the meetings. So it seems like they're not going to have any meetings on Team Doge or any streams, which is fine. It's not something they're into. Last one was Data Republican. I just kind of assumed that they would want to do more of that. So, but I don't know. Maybe there's a minimum follower limit or something. I'm not quite sure. Maybe that's it. Maybe that's the problem. So anyway, I'll continue to try to post Doji related things in that community and invite people to join it. I think there's value in it, but it's as far as kind of the community building stuff and helping projects didn't seem like that's going to be its thing, which is, whatever. So it's going to be more of the kind of the PR side of Doge related stuff. And maybe that's makes it uncompetitive or less competitive with the stuff that we're trying to do. So maybe that's a good thing. I don't know.
Yeah.
yeah, so that's that. So I guess I don't have to worry about broadcasting the Wednesday meetings over that community anymore. Um, one thing I don't think I had on the list, and if you want to talk about it privately, that's fine. But you talked about that you and Stephen were going to have a room together at AmericaFest. I was
Yes.
wondering, that's probably not possible now. So, are you interested in me filling his spot since I haven't booked a hotel or yet? So,
I don't know. I don't think Steven's going to spend a month there.
he's talking about being there for 3 months.
Oh, well,
At
I
least
did
last I
not know
heard.
that.
Now
Oh, I
that
did
could
not know
change.
that. Oh,
Um,
okay.
but that's, I mean, don't take my word for it. Definitely, if you haven't talked to Steven about it yet, then please do, just to double check. But I'm just thinking about the more that um, the people that are going to go to America Fest we can band together. And so if
Yeah,
you're
and then an
interested,
Airbnb makes more sense, and we can cook for ourselves and stuff like that,
yeah,
which saves a lot of money for traveling. Yeah.
yes, that's usually my um, preference. I like doing that. I've done that many times, especially traveling internationally. It's a lot of fun.
Mm-hmm.
It's better than being in a hotel, at least generally. But anyway, so it's an offer if you're looking for a new roomie, let me know. Um,
Sounds good. I just jumped on Steven because he was like, "Oh, I got a safe house," but
he did
that's
mention
not happening. Yeah. So if he's changed his plans because he went to Ukraine. By the way, his trip to Ukraine, like, you know, it's easy to be in America and be safe and think one thing,
sure.
which is like, hey, revenge is a dish best served cold, and if the Ukrainians would like partner with the US so that like we all get rich, that would be better than like spending their blood.
I
But
think I'm following you.
then I'm seeing like Stephen going around and visiting the war memorials, and I'm like, wow, these people are down for it. And ultimately it's their country and their decision. And now I'm kind of like Slav Ukraine, or however it goes.
Okay.
But
So I guess you're saying okay. No, I hear what you're saying. So they're
I don't want to send troops, but I want to continue to let the Europeans buy weapons from us that they send to the Ukraine.
I think that's the general consensus. I'm behind that as well.
Yeah.
I'm not even close to the point of being willing to send my military-age children to Ukraine to fight for them. But yeah,
Well, and
I should be able
if I've learned anything about all these NGOs that are like run by these intelligence agencies, is we suck at that, right? I'm so when we were the department, it was all SAMs. This is me. Once we named them the Department of Defense instead of War, we lost our way and we started getting involved in these fake wars, and we were going to bring democracy and so on. And
sure.
I know that's how we justified World War I and World War II, but we fuck it up. And now we're the Department of War and we blow up shit. And we try not to, but we have boundaries. And so this gets into my own personal thing. So now I'm going to tell a story about me and my wife.
Okay.
So my wife is like, why do you suddenly blow up all of a sudden? And I'm like, well, I have a really bad Irish temper. And so do you. And the way I manage my temper is I have a really long fuse. So you annoy me and I cut you some slack. And you annoy me some more and I cut you some slack. And you annoy me some more and I cut you some slack. And I annoy me some more. And now there's no more slack. And whatever it is, you're now over the line and I blow up. And she's thought about this because she's Irish too, right? And she's like, okay, so basically you're telling me you're out of inches, bitch. I'm like, yeah, that's it exactly. And she said, okay, I can live with that. Because, wives know, right? They're like, I'm pushing you. And, purposely went and found a pushy broad. And my wife, when we were first dating, she had to test me to see if I was willing to say no.
All
And I
right.
was. So, that's just life with married people. And so I'm kind of okay with the long fuse model of like, very patient until we're not, and then we come and destroy your country.
I can understand what you're talking about. I've got a bit of the Irish and Scottish in me as well. So,
Yeah.
Haven't Steven's been busy. I'm going a bit off agenda here, but still. But I'm going to see if I can organize. Doesn't have to be like on a specific day, but organize a series of fundraising discussions, live broadcasts to be more specific with Stephen. Doesn't have to be me, but I'm happy to do it with him to try to get him fully funded. His GoFundMe is up to what is it up to? It's he set it at 15 grand. I need to fix the website slightly, but let's see. Let me switch it back over. So okay. So this is a fancy way of me saying that I've got X posts to work on the website. Or the D Media site. Let's see. So one of the posts I put up is his for his Stevens for his GoFundMe. It's at $5 grand, so something certainly. You and I. Oops, somebody donated $2 grand. Cool, good for him. So what my hope is, either through D Media or through his GoFundMe, we can help Steven out, because that's, I think, kind of if there is a priority, it's that to get him so that he's fully funded for his effort. I'm
really curious what he's going to find out when he talks to the actual Ukrainians. It's already interesting finding out that the scoop about some of the drones being more dangerous than others. That was interesting.
Yes. Well, there's a ton of stuff that I think. Well, there's a ton of stuff as far as reporting, but as far as what we're trying to do here, why is this change? Okay, there it is. But as far as like a order of priority of what we're trying to accomplish, I've kind of reordered the stack, so to speak. So top of the stack now, I think, is getting Stephen fully funded so he can do his work and possibly help keep him safe. And then right below that is organizing D Media. And then right below that is doing Doge Network stuff. So I think they're kind of in order of priority and kind of related to each other. So I'm going to try to work with Stephen over the next couple of days to start regularly holding kind of a live, holding a live broadcast. We can start with talking about what's going on over in, what's going on with his funding. But perhaps we can evolve it to, more specifically about his reporting. So I'm not entirely sure if we include it, just marry it with the Wednesday meetings. I'm open to how we should do that or why we should do that. I keep kind of going back to if we're trying to emulate. we want to support Doge efforts, and part of that is research and journalism on Doge efforts. And I want to model the D Media thing to support Doge efforts after Daily Wire and 44 Media and Wall Street Journal and maybe RCP. But if I'm trying to do those, kind of do that, then how do we do that? So I'm still kind of feeling around the corners of that. I think one thing that's interesting that most people don't do is that we're actually a little bit more active in social media. And I think we have the potential of doing live streams and kind of merging that with the journalism, and also our technical expertise of being able to push all this across multiple media platforms as well as podcasts, which is something that we need to talk about how we do that operationally. But also the fact that we're thinking and focused on supporting long-term storage of our resources or our data. Most of these teams don't do that, or I should say none of those teams do that. But kind of, anyway, I'm rambling, but hopefully that all makes sense. So I'm trying to kind of grok how we plug in the live broadcast component of what we're doing in with the D Media concept. So hopefully that made sense, and you're kind of
something we could do too is, I'm thinking about Stephen today, and he's so he's our embed, right? He's embedded in Ukraine.
Sure.
For operational security, he couldn't do live, but we could do pre-recorded streams on Restream, and then we could upload them to X for him, like after a delay. So like he can do a stream, and we'll ask him questions while he's in his hotel or walking around and so on. And then we can rebroadcast them later. Just an idea. Now, Stephen would probably have better ideas about this, but this is just, Stephen's organized this trip. He's out there in Ukraine. We want to keep him safe, but it would also be cool if people were getting live up to date.
Right. Yeah, I think that makes sense. I will write it down, and I will. That does actually make a certain amount of sense. Because if I'm having problems doing a live broadcast with him involved, then why force the issue? Because he's obviously, I think he's 9 hours ahead of us.
Yeah, time zone stuck.
Yeah.
And we want him alert and reactive, so we should do it in his time, and we can stay up late and sleep tomorrow.
Okay. Okay. Yeah. What? Either you, I, or we haven't really kind of worked out the operations of it. I did. Speaking to that, I'm still not following what we had talked about, or what I had planned to talk about. But so let me go back here. I'm liking how easy the screen sharing is working. Double check that it's not screwing it up. Okay. So maybe it's a bit, where did I put it? There it is. Maybe it's a bit arrogant. Man, arrogant's probably not the right word, but a bit interesting, and maybe oversharing to put everything out on GitHub issues. But I have.
Well, I think we've kind of decided to be open, right? I mean, we talk about random stuff, in our staff meetings and so on. And I don't know. I think it's kind of part of the fun.
It is, yeah, yeah. I'm not sure, and we'll probably figure this out as we go along of when to stop. What stuff that shouldn't be public, but usually it's like paying people. Probably is the barrier, but everything else kind of fun, like you said. So I started thinking on my run yesterday. I was having a bit of a thought about how we do shit, and because we're so, the time we have to dedicate to things, and the timing of things is very broken up. So I was starting to think about how would we create an ops plan. And maybe it's a little bit dorky, but I was thinking of a media CI/CD. I'm not exactly sure if that concept kind of works, but it helps me to organize it in things that I understand, because I don't fully understand, and probably maybe that's for the better, exactly how typical media organizations publish it. And really, us publishing things isn't really like through D-Media isn't really kind of the absolute purpose of what we're trying to do. What we're absolutely trying to do is to support projects, and to publish their stuff, but then also to build up some of the infrastructure, data, and the anti-bias infrastructure. That's going to be, I think, the real key and real benefit to us working together, I think. But anyway, so I was just kind of starting to work backwards from that. So I need to organize this a bit better to really make sense, and I wanted to do that with you, but before we had this meeting, because I was hoping to talk to you about this. But go ahead, take a look at my musings. It's a bit of a thought stream, these issues that I've published out on the Doge Network website issues on GitHub repo. But essentially what I'm trying to think through is, how do we work like a typical tech team where everything's super broken up? We get together once a week, or maybe a couple times a week, but at least once a week, and kind of catch up. But the fact that we can somewhat work independently and still make stuff happen, and still be somewhat successful. So anyway, hopefully that makes sense. So did I just totally go off on a tangent, or does that make any sense at all?
You did a little bit, but I'm thinking. So personal issue I'm having right now is my probate lawyer. I was freaking out in September because it was coming up on the 90 days since my mama died. And I'm like, hey, where's the filing and stuff? And they sent me on September 24th, they sent me the petition, lawyer terms. And I thought, okay, and then I hadn't heard back. And I'm like, well, now it's almost up to the 120 days statutory limit of when you can protest a trust.
Okay.
And what's going on? And so I emailed them and said, hey, what's going on with that petition? Last I heard was September. And the secretary emailed me back and said, oh, I talked to William, and he said that he's working on notifying the people of their time to object. And I didn't realize that until I had Grok read the email. That what that meant is the petition got filed. And so tomorrow, Tuesday morning, I have to call the Lane County clerk and say, hey, I got to check in my lawyer. Did this get filed? And they'll tell me yes or no, right? Because they are allowed to do that, right? That's not secret. And then I can relax. But I was realizing that, like, they don't teach lawyers how to herd cats. And I spent years herding programmer cats.
Right.
And if you're operational, the thing that you need is a Kanban board. And you can go to personalkanban.com, because that's the best way, because human beings can only remember 5 things if they're a woman and 3 things if they're a man. And it's just too hard when you got a bunch of balls in the air. So this issue thing is cool for capturing what you did, but it's not going to help it get done, because to get done, you have to arrange and prioritize. So what we need a shared Trello board, Trello.com. And we need to set that up and know these are the things we're doing. And I actually have a personal Trello board. I'll take a picture of it. I have to go in the other room and take a picture and then show it to you.
Okay. Sounds good.
So, and this is how I keep track of the stuff I have to do in my life. And, let's see. Messages, send it that way. To Sean. Go. There you go. Okay, so that is to do, doing, and done. And the thing about a physical dashboard is when you succeed at something, your body gives you a little hit of dopamine. And this is how the brain works. And the physical act of moving a Post-it from doing to done is very satisfying.
It is.
Dragging the electrons around in Trello is not as satisfying, but it's a little satisfying.
Yeah.
And the other thing is, visually, if you look at my Trello board,
it's funny you call it a Trello board.
Yeah, you're right. I call it my Kanban board. You can see that, like, I manage how much stuff I have to do. Now, in my personal life, I actually ended up having like a doing for each day of the week, because that was easier. Like, oh, I'm going to do this day. I'm going to do this day, and so on. But lawyers, like, they have to talk to the client. They have to get their associate to do the work. They have to review the work. I'm just guessing, right? Then they have to file. Then they have to notify people. There's all these steps that have to happen in the process. And so operationally, I have found Kanban boards to be the best way to do that kind of thing, of like so on. And when I was at Skyport Systems, they didn't have a physical project dashboard at all. Instead, they had this annoying meeting every morning that was the worst thing of all, a serial status meeting, because it was the only way to get the UI team like all rowing in the same direction at the same time. And I said, okay, we need a physical project dashboard. So we set that up, and then that worked, right? Because being able to see the things. The other thing I said is like, okay, you guys have this fantasy that bugs get fixed magically by osmosis. That's not true. If you want somebody to fix a bug, you have to assign them that as their work, not hope that it will get fun magically. You're complaining they're not fixing the bugs, and then you don't actually give them the time to fix the bugs. You always want them working on new features. If you want bugs fixed, you do that. So we started doing that, and we put it on the Kanban board, and we would say, oh, and then people would like we would have like, they would move the thing and say, oh, I got this done. We were like, yay, and it was a little cheerleading, which made everybody feel good and motivated the team. Yeah. So what else? The other thing I found in the bug database is, this is when I was reforming the team, is I talked to one of the guys, and I'm like, okay, why is the bug backlog so big? And he said, oh, and he showed me that like most of the bugs weren't actually actionable. Like they would be in the bug database for months, and it would like say, I can't even start this because blah, 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 blah. I said, oh, I know how to fix this from getting things done. You mark the bug with not actionable.
Right.
Because you can only work on the bugs that are actionable, and you say why it's not actionable. So we had this whole thing of like not actionable design. Like maybe we needed the UX person to design it, or not actionable, couldn't reproduce or whatever. And so I cut the bug backlog in half, and now the engineers just come in, they would see a bug, they would decide if they could work on it or not. And if they could, they'd be like, they'd go and work on it. And if it wasn't actionable, it went off in the pile. And the other category I made, this was genius on my part, and bragging, I said not actionable infrastructure. And that meant that we had to build something to fix it. And so that organically drove this part of the code is bullshit and needs to be fixed. And the other thing it is, I also broke the silos. And they're like, well, Bob knows that section of the code better. And I'm like, yeah, okay, so you got to talk to Bob to fix that. How much do you think that's going to take in a day? And they're like, well, about 5 minutes. I said, so for 5 minutes in a day, you and Bob are going to be interrupted. But at the end of the day, you're both going to know how to deal with that code. And they're like, yeah. And I said, so then me as a manager does not have to worry about who gets the bug. And they're like, no. And I said, so I'm down with the 5 minutes. And they're like, yeah, so are we down? Let me think about it. And I'm like, yeah, over optimizing, that just makes us crazy because we can only ever do the certain things. So yeah, don't do that. There's no silos. Everybody works in everything and it's all our code. So anyways, this is management tweaks that are eventually going to go in the book if I ever start working on it and stop obsessing about the NGOs.
Don't stop obsessing about the NGOs.
Well, I've been thinking about a D Media. I've been thinking about an iOS app that lets you, that's kind of like, lets you go through the NGOs. Because now I have all the shit crammed into a database. I'm like, yeah, it'd be cool if I could just make a little iOS app. You could type in stuff or click around things and browse all that stuff on your phone. And be like, oh, who are these people? Where are they from?
Yeah.
So,
well, that's definitely my intent is to, I started with essentially a very similar to any other news organization application, but there's zero reason why we can't evolve it somewhat. So looking at, how, let me go back. Hold on. There it is. So looking at how it's built so far, I know you haven't jumped on contributing code, and unfortunately, my metadata scraper for X is not working on Vercel right now, so I'll fix that in a little bit. That's why you see it just as content, but it is actually going to the X posting it though, which is cool. I was able to figure that out using Playwright. But the general idea of how it looks right now, it looks like any other media application, which is essentially what I was trying to do. All the basics work. You can change it light to dark. You can search. I have a few icons over here to the right to jump off to things. So anyway, this is a very typical application. It all seems to work, and I think we could continue to move forward and just leave it like this and not tweak it too much. But the slight variations, well, this is very similar to how Wall Street Journal has theirs organized. I added in the footer something specific for video. Actually, X has done this now too. Video is more interesting than just text, or just text. So we could just port this to an iOS app. There's a lot of React in this. So evolving this to be mostly or all React Native and using drawing a blank on it, but it's not Echo. It's there's a platform middleware tool that I've been using to basically port websites to be iOS and Android apps.
Yeah, I used it too. It's Adobe Cordova, I think it's called.
Oh, well, that's another one. I haven't used that. There's an open source one that I've been using. it works pretty well. It obviously has some flaws. I'll share it with you when I think about it. But anyway, the general idea is that we don't have to. The general I think somebody just joined, or somebody just joined you. Oh, what just happened? Whoa. Okay. Wow, this totally just freaked out on me. Can you still see everything?
I can still see everything in Restream.
Okay. Yeah, the interface just totally went crazy. Okay. I guess whatever. Let's see if I can see. Oh, is that blinking you, or is that me? Is that the private chat?
I don't see anything in private chat.
Okay. Yeah, my interface just went very
or
completely.
Chat either.
What's that?
Yeah, I don't see anything in chat or private chat.
Okay, cool. All right, all good. So anyway, getting back to what I was rambling on is that we could just leave it as is and just focus on getting a few people that normally don't contribute to that do research type of work that's very Doge related or government transparency related, and get them to work with us. We get to the point where we start getting some money coming in, and we pay them a stipend to essentially help us publish articles, research on D-Media, and that's fine, and that helps promote the overall Doge technical work, engineering work that we really want to do, the infrastructure, the data, and so we essentially start splitting off into two bigger teams: folks that are researchers and folks that are infrastructure. That's cool. We can do that, or maybe an and, or we could start extending. And to that point, I can just use the tooling, whatever tooling we come up with, to port this application. It's relatively simple at this point, and port it to iOS and Android. And then we kind of don't need to worry about it anymore to a certain extent. It will somewhat stand on its own. There's really, other than maybe enhancing the interface so that more researchers, it's a lower bar for researchers to contribute, and maybe even add the capability for them to get how they get paid, add that interface.
Mm-hmm.
But that's pretty minor stuff. We work maybe a couple more weeks on it, and then we wouldn't really have to tweak it that much. So that's, but if we wanted to kind of go beyond and make it so that, for instance, there was a dude interface that was connected to D-Media that would be part of the iOS app or the mobile apps, or a more generic kind of data Republican interface, for lack of a better phrasing. I don't know. Am I making any sense, or did I just totally get over caffeinated?
You're not. No, you're not making that much sense, because there's a bunch of stuff
Okay.
You're not saying. You're saying.
All right.
Yeah.
My apologies.
So, and I have practical questions. Like, in the app, are we going to clone the website into the app, or is it just going to be an inner portal to the app? In other words, will it be offline or online?
Okay. Yeah, expand on that, because maybe that's a way of connecting my thought stream to what you're saying.
The reason I was thinking about building an iOS app was I was thinking about shoving all the 990 data into a database in your phone, so that you wouldn't have the problem of having to download it, and it would be fast. Right, it launches, it's there, and then you can do queries and I can do interface things I can do in the app that I wouldn't be able to do online, with the restriction that it has to be able to live in a CDN. But Then the problem would be updates, and so I'd have to like turn the app every month when the latest round of
I see. I see
dumps
what you're
from the
saying.
IRS
Well,
came. It'd be like, oh, okay, now I got to go run the scripts, and I got to go and shepherd them through the process. And oh, here's your new app. So if I do an app, I'll probably do like a subscription model to motivate me to do that every month.
got it.
So then I was asking you, like, hey, are you going to download the site and put it in the app so that it runs offline, or are you going to? I don't know if you
The
want to.
D-Media site?
Yeah, I don't know if you want to store all the videos in the app, but maybe you want to stream them. You can
I would
store.
say generally no, because my assumption would be that that's not actually physically possible. Um, I wonder if we're still broadcasting. It says it's live. I don't see the live stream on my phone. Interesting.
I'll look.
Oh, it is what it is.
Show more. I do not see it either.
Yeah. All right. Well, assuming it, hopefully it's still recording. So it says it's recording.
Huh.
Anyway, not worry about it at this moment. Okay. So yeah, the broadcast, Steve. Can you see the broadcast still? Because it's a blank screen for me. The screen sharing. I'm sorry. Is the screen sharing
I'm
still?
seeing your notes thing.
You still see it?
Yeah, grokking how to organize live broadcast into D Media to support Doge
Okay.
Network.
Yeah, it's just not. So I guess maybe this is a signal that the Chrome running the streams off of Chrome maybe isn't the best plan. The interface is acting very bizarre for me. It's anyway. It's all good. And obviously, if it stops streaming, that's also a problem. So anyway, yes. So getting back to what you're saying, so making it work off mobile, Data Republican was your first thought, and how to merge that with the idea of D-Media. And so right now, the D-Media app, and it still needs a tiny bit of tweaking this morning to work. I'm pulling metadata and caching it to Cloudflare, Cloudflare CDN. So the metadata from YouTube and X for each of the posts, it gets basically pulled live and then posted to Cloudflare. So the application is actively during build pulling that metadata. So I'm not hard coding it. The only thing I'm mostly hard coding is like how I'm classifying the posts, because there's different types of posts, like opinion and things like that, and the URL of the source and an ID. That's pretty much it. So everything else is getting. I've classified or created interfaces for each of the different types. So there's one for X, there's one for YouTube, there's one for stories of what the metadata is. But for the ones that have dynamic sources, I'm actually pulling that and then saving it off into cache. So the reason why I'm saying that is it obviously makes the application a little bit more difficult to manage. But once you get it done, and assuming that YouTube and X don't fiddle with things, which they probably will occasionally and break it, but while in between them fiddling, it will work. And the chances of the data being stale is very small, which is kind of one of my biggest fears or biggest things I'm trying to avoid. So if I change the title, for instance, of a YouTube video, I already have the URL, so it's not going to matter to me. I'll automatically pick up the new title, for instance. So what I would recommend is that we can work together to do the same thing for Data Republican's site/iOS app, because there's no reason why we can't use that type of methodology. We don't have to go all the way to using Redis and a full-on Postgres database. but we can inch towards it by caching certain data types, like metadata, for instance. And I'm sure there's others that would allow something like an iOS app version of Data Republican and also DMedia to work better, to be more responsive. One of the things I did while I was testing this and building it, my response time went from about 150 milliseconds down to about 5 milliseconds by caching it,
Cool.
which is, eyeballs see that. One of the general rules is probably not perfect anymore, which is 50 milliseconds. If you're building your page and stuff takes more than 50 milliseconds, eyeballs will see it, and that's generally bad.
Yeah.
So building out stuff like the wireframe initially, and then if you do have external data sources, which you almost always do, like ads and other things, you start pulling those in, but you always build out the basic structure so that somebody's not looking at a blank page while it's all building. So anyway, did that make any sense? And
yes, it did. You're talking about doing a hybrid approach, and I was thinking about that too, which is that if even if I have a database, if I can download it into the phone, and like the phone goes and says, "Oh, let me go get the latest database," and says, "Oh, sorry, user, I got to go download this," that would be okay, right? And so the same thing, if you download and cache the metadata to the phone, and then the videos and all the heavy stuff are out in the CDN, that seems fine to me, right? It's enough to browse around and explore. So,
okay, so let's work on that, because I think I built some templates for the Ruby and Next.js templates for people to create Doge sites. Obviously, it's going to be a lift for folks that are more research oriented, and it takes a bit of focus, and even I with California Doge. I'm not making as regular updates as I used to because I've split my time now. So I'm doing it like once a month rather than daily like I was at one point. But the more that we can collaborate and work together, and I think collaborate's the best word, on how to support Data Republican's site and these other similar sites, and kind of spread the joy, hopefully spreading it through DMedia and earning us a few bucks to help support that collaboration. I think that's all goodness. I think there's definitely a solution to making a mobile version of Data Republican site work better. I think caching would be part of it. I'm not sure. I mean, we could start caching. What we could start doing is we could start breaking up the data. I'm not sure the right word, but essentially data classes for the 990 forms, and start looking at what we consider to be header information or metadata, and what's considered to be the body. So I have some ideas of probably what that could look like. But if we start doing that, then in a very simplistic way, that could lead us to, the stuff that's metadata goes to CDN, and the stuff that's data, perhaps, we keep it as JSON, or we try to cache it locally in the browser, or some other methods, or the more extreme would be put it in the database and put Redis in front of it. Obviously, that makes it technically a lot more difficult to manage when we do that. But I think if we start with figuring out what is the metadata, then at the very least that would speed it up considerably. And potentially, if we use something like React Native for the UI, then the lift of creating an actual full-on iOS, Android app for Data Republican and possibly other Doge projects is pretty smaller. It won't be inconsequential, but it won't be as much of a lift rather than trying to support the web version on a mobile. I mean, you can do it. It's just it's harder.
I have a
There's
friend
just
who makes a living taking people's React Native apps and porting them to full native. Because what happens is he gets this app and it sucks in React Native, and the people are like, "Hey, our app sucks," and he's like, "Yeah," and he strips out all the React Native stuff. I don't know any more than that. I just know that he's like very skeptical about React Native.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's like it's the same kind of problem with Next.js and other high level languages. I use high level as far as they don't compile well. Um, so they're very fat, and they basically are. There's a lot of overhead in them. They're not sexy like a C++ or I don't know. I could go down the list. Other languages that are more more compilable. So they're smaller and they operate more efficiently. So doing complex work like what you're doing with Data Republican is going to run more efficiently in a more compilable language. The problem, though, is that it makes it a lot less possible to port that code from one platform to another. I wouldn't say it's impossible, but it makes it very difficult. You get into memory issues. You get into all kinds of pretty fundamental garbage collection, a lot of other issues. So by using something like React Native or Next, even though they're not very sexy as far as their compactness, but their ability to, they have a lot of multi-platform goodness melded into them, so that it makes it possible so you could use them across different platforms with very little modification.
I understand, but I love React. React is great. I'm just skeptical about React Native just from a friend of mine. So
Understood.
More about React Native and find out what the problems are.
And I'm certainly not hardcore any programming language anymore. I used to be. But I think using either a combination or using what just works is more probably the should be the focus. So if we find that developing in Rust is the right way to go, or Rust plus whatever, I'm good with that. I built DMedia using Node and Next just because it's an easy high-level language, and I know Vercel supports it really well, and I'm using Vercel. So that's really the only reason I leaned on creating one of the templates based on it. But also that's part of the reason why I use Ruby is because a lot of people have Jenkins sites, and or have Jenkins as the base, meaning that it's built in Ruby. So I built that as well for the other folks, and also Vercel supports Ruby. So anyway, I'm fine with using whatever language, but let's as a side effort start thinking about how we build mobile versions of the applications. Maybe starting with DMedia would be a good place to start, and what we learned from it and being able to create mobile versions, iOS and Android versions of DMedia. Then we can apply that to Data Republican and Kalidosh.
Yeah.
So that's certainly been on my to-do list. I just haven't had the time to focus on it. Would be awesome if we were funded right now. That would be an awesome thing to get an intern or one of our colleagues to spin off on and start working on, because it's certainly a side project. It's not the thing, but it's certainly an important thing. and maybe another way of putting it, if we had mobile first versions of different applications, we get a lot more traction, a lot more eyeballs, and probably a lot more funding.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a bit of chicken and egg, I think. So does that sound like a reasonable plan?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, cool. So I'll share.
Yeah, I took a to-do
I'll,
item that I will go research mobile versions of websites and
cool,
see,
cool.
besides Cordova, what the other technologies are out there, and figure out why my friend objected to React Native.
Yeah, well, I think there's always going to be a lot of. My screensaver just decided to pop on. Nice, thank you. So I think there's always going to be a lot of good reasons why any of the languages are in certain situations aren't ideal, and it's going to be probably we just have to weigh them. So yeah, I'd be interested to see what you come back with.
In fact, let me send my friend an email right now. So let's see.
Cool. Yeah.
Why?
I'd love to have that conversation as well. So if
suck ?
If you want to loop me in, or if you have the time to loop me in, I'd be happy to join.
He's Bigfoot. It's kind of Bigfoot. I don't use it personally, but okay. You're talking to a nerd. There's always like
Stop shit.
Sean Roberts and let's see, Sean Roberts 66. Okay.
Yep.
Hey, I remember talking to you about stuff, and you said that React Native sucked, and I was wondering why, because me and these other folks are thinking about making a mobile version of a website that is already in React. ? There. Send. Okay. I'll probably get an answer in a bit, in a day or so.
Sweet. All right. Yeah. So how to. Okay, cool. So, wow, we've been riffing for an hour. So maybe I just go through I think you know most of this stuff because we've been talking during the week, which is probably a good sign. But I'll go over the agenda real fast.
Mm-hmm.
So it seems like we've hit most of it. I've started pitching D-Media to folks.
Mm-hmm.
I've shared an email. You've seen the GDoc of a variety of different pitch messages. I've been using versions of that and the PDF version of the pitch, which is about a page and a half, along with pointing at the web version of the pitch. Needs a little bit of update, but it's still 95% accurate.
Mm-hmm.
I haven't got any feedback from anybody yet, which is not too surprising. Most of these people get a lot of traffic, so I need to figure out or need to work on getting their attention. But I'll keep doing that. It sounds like you've shared it with some of your people. So we just need to keep doing that.
We need to keep networking until we kind of run out of people to network with.
Yeah, well, one of the things I was thinking about, I think I actually created an issue on this, is that we should probably create a mailing list of sorts of pitch folks, people that we pitched, and keep updating them on a regular basis, kind of making the assumption that they're listening.
Yeah.
And so at the very least, that raises the potential of them, folks paying attention, but also it makes us a bit more rigorous that we're actually working on it and we're making an effort.
Well,
That it's not just
yeah, if people see
like,
us doing stuff, then they'll be,
yeah,
more whatever, right? Like,
exactly,
yeah.
exactly, and that's one of the benefits of using D media and getting some folks to post things on a regular basis, hopefully on their own schedule here in the future. But it does that as well. It shows one place. I don't think it's the place, but it's one place to show a combination of our work
Mm-hmm.
as a broader group, and then jumping off points for that work.
Mm-hmm.
So they can go to X, they can go to YouTube and other platforms as we add them. Podcast is one of the things that I want us to start doing, or at least generating podcasts from our meetings on a regular basis would be cool. Well, anyway, not to get off topic, but the more that we can do, break down what we're doing on a regular basis and make incremental progress and show that to people, both from a funding and an audience perspective, quote unquote customers,
Mm-hmm.
then I think that's how essentially I wouldn't say win, but that's how we will be successful. This is I think there's a good reason why nobody's done something like what we're doing right now, because it's really hard.
Mm-hmm.
Splitting your attention between research and infrastructure and incrementally moving forward and making progress is extremely difficult, and especially doing it in a open source, open data related way. Just nobody's tried to do that. So I'm optimistic that we're on the road to being successful at doing that. So
Yeah, and in
anyway,
fact,
sorry.
there's a classic XKCD cartoon showing you like how building a little bit of infrastructure, the benefit pays off over time. Like, if you have to do something 100 times a day and it's 30 seconds, but you spend 5 minutes making it, take 20 seconds, that pays off really quickly, right? You spent 5 minutes, for the 30 seconds. And it doesn't seem when you're doing one at a time, I'll just do this, right? But, when you're like, oh, well, I do this 100 times a day. So it's worth it, because the minute, even though I spent 5 minutes doing that, that's 300 seconds, but I do it 100 times a day. So now it used to take me, 50 minutes a day. And now it's taking me, I guess my math is off there. Let's see. If it's 30 seconds, it's 100 times a day, and it goes to 20 seconds 100 times a day. Oh, I've saved 100 seconds of the day. And so it pays off for itself in like 4 days, that 5 minutes. It paid back that 5 minutes. I had a DevOps guy who used to have that like taped to his cubicle.
Yeah, no, that is smart. I mean, it is fundamentally why, I mean, not to be uber dorky, but it is fundamentally that application of those types of that basic DevOps theory is why quite a few of Musk's companies have been successful, and there's a few other examples of that as well, of adopting that really basic DevOps thinking and methodology and applying it to a company. It can be successful. It's just hard,
Well, and there's also
to actually be rigorous on that.
There's also the conniving factor of like the more we pull, like Data Republican has 830,000 followers, right? None of us have that many followers, and I can't remember where she is in the rankings, the global rankings, but she's way up there. She's like, she's not an Elon, and she's below Grok, but she's in like the top 1,000, right? And
Sure.
the more, but if we can get all of us and all of the Data Republican adjacent like researchers together,
Mm-hmm.
we have a bigger pool. And as long as the algorithms keep sucking, the more we can get, religious about reposting each other and so on, the better it is. I've been making an effort to repost people, even though Stephen has 60,000 followers and I have like, 8.25, it's still worth it. I see from the likes people, when people like my repost, I'm like, okay, I've reached somebody new. I'm not like, oh, I saw that already.
Yeah.
I even repost Data Republican, so
Yeah, well, I think it is that is something that we should think about more, of how kind of the basic act, or the act may be the best word, of cross posting. And because I have a tendency to depending on the topic on X, primarily on X nowadays, um, include others that I think are interested in that topic, but it's super dynamic. But it would be interesting if we could figure out a more repeatable method for certain types of posts as a group, and kind of get people to follow that.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe that kind of rigor is not possible for how loosely connected all of us are, but it would be maybe an interesting 5-minute exercise to see if there's 5 different types of including similarly interesting people that will allow that post to get a better reach, and get, like you said, more retweeted, more eyeballs.
Yeah, we have the list, so we can go down the list and make sure that we've let's see, reply with a comment why whatever they did is good, and then you repost that comment, and that helps both of you.
Yeah.
I think that's how you feed the algorithm. So you feed them because they got a reply, and you feed your followers good content, which helps you. Yeah, it used to bug me that you had to poll to see what the reply was to. I thought that was invisible UI, and it still bugs me, but that's supposedly how you feed the algorithm. So that's what I try to do now. I used to just quote post because I would tell people why they should read stuff. And then now I'm like, okay, I will reply and tell them, oh, this is really good, and I really like this. And then I repost that.
Well, by getting into the analytics, which I love if that was actually consumable by something, so I could start using that to code.
You can download the JSON file. There's a link somewhere.
You?
Yeah.
Analytics?
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't know that. Awesome. All right. Well, okay. I'll have to. Okay, that gives me something to think about. Anyway, I want to start building a robust data sync, but it's 53rd on the list of things I should be working on.
Yeah. Here's the justification for you digging into analytics. You could sell that as an iOS app.
Oh.
You could call it X Uber Analytics or something like that.
That is actually analytics across multiple platforms, standardized.
Yeah.
Okay, that's actually that would make a lot of sense. That's kind of what Hootsuite has been trying to do. I don't know if you've seen that. There was a previous version of what the frick was it called? It was working off of Twitter and Facebook and Instagram, and they were doing a version of that. They were summarizing to improve performance of certain posts. But as far as I know, none of those applications exist anymore. They've all gone internal. They don't publish their tooling. They're
I use Audience, was spelled funny, to manage followers sometimes. When I used to bump into the following count all the time, I would go and purge people that were hadn't posted in a year or whatever. I'm like, oh, there's no reason for me to be following this person. And you had to do it.
I see what you're saying.
Audience
those two
throttle how many people I could do that for, but that was worth it because the X will penalize you if you unfollow a bunch of people. So it's like they think you're a bot. So it's like, okay, I'm not a bot. I'm
Right.
just like pruning because I hit the limit and I want to like, follow this person. So yeah, but the problem with all the analytics is they're all like subscription based and it adds up. So I'm like, no, I don't want that. I don't want to pay a subscription. There's the built-in, which is like good enough for me most of the time. And what I really want to know is like, what do I do that gets me followers? Because it seems like when I'm an asshole, I get more followers that day.
Right.
Whereas if I write really good content, and I get that, but and what was the thing I got the most followers on? I think I was wrong about something. Data Republican posted something, and I like went downloaded the spreadsheet, and I sorted it by money, and I'm like, wow, the people that are getting the most money are this weird group with a sketchy name, and that's kind of all I said, and people are like, wow, that is weird. And then I dug into it, and I'm like, oh, this organization, that's what they do, is they're like, pop-up infrastructure. You're like, they're not mercenaries. They're like, mercenary carpenters or whatever. Anyways.
Mercenary carpenters. I like that. What was I going to say? I totally lost my train of thought. You've been sticking with me for a while, so let me. I think we've covered a lot of interesting stuff that we needed to kind of uh, go over face to face. So you let me know if I'm missing something. So we talked about pitching to media some. Um, I think I think the basics exist there for us to be able to do that. The pitch is published. The D media site is out there. Um, I need to tweak it slightly to fix the X posting. The next thing that we could probably work on is I'm using a single flat file for all the data, breaking that out so that the actual content is broken out of that, and the logic supporting the data is stuck in that data file still. So that's probably something that in the very short run could be fixed. We could also, well, I'll just leave it there. I think emailing, asking people to email us their content for now is probably an easy way to support it. And um, so if you hear any feedback from anybody that they don't like that, they want an interface, then we can build it. But I'm trying to kind of put a pin in building D media because it'd be easy to fiddle with it forever and say it's good enough, basically to support the pitch and support trying to get funding and to get contributors to cross post to the media to the D media site plus their social media. Does that make sense to you, or am I missing something?
Yeah, I think we just go simple. We just get people in the clan to agree to browse the list once a day and review everybody's latest content and reply and cross post.
Right.
Yeah.
Sounds pretty straightforward. And yeah, I'll just leave it at that. So it needs
we're merging our followers is what we're doing, so you have a broader network. And everybody who's
yeah.
posting anything interesting on X wants people to see it, right? So
then
yeah, my most popular post in the last 3 months was the one where I said that nothing is more expensive than a cheap software engineer. Yeah, they got 96,000 impressions and 328 reposts.
Wow. Okay. Profound.
Number 2 is I made fun of the fact that we were going to get rid of the H-1Bs, and I said, or that we were going to stop sending money to Indian call centers and said, "Yeah, you laugh, but that means tech support too." And I got a whole bunch. I got 224 replies in that of people basically saying, "Good," but I got 0 reposts. So there you go. That was just me being flippant. What got the most likes? Yeah. I
Okay.
was commenting on the Southern Poverty Law Center and said that they have an extortion racket. You have to pay to stay off their list. And Apple had to give them $1 million.
Yeah.
Got 147 reposts.
Which
So,
is probably not perfectly the truth, but probably very close to it.
it is pretty close to it. Yeah. Southern Poverty, they're a racket.
Yeah. Okay, so something that not on my list of things to do, but is should and needs to be high priority. Yeah, no problem, Gail. Is the minimum run rate? I promised that I was going to work on that. So I'm started off. What's the minimum run rate for 3 employees? Benefits, salary, and infrastructure, because that's a necessary. That would be probably, if not the first question, but one of in the first 5 questions from any angel or seed funding group or person. They're going to ask, how much money do you really need, and when do you need it, and where do you use it on? So, giving us some basic salary so that we could really focus on this full time, I think would be a good baseline. By us, I'd say probably you, me, and at least 1 or 2 other people, maybe Data or Janica. But I think there's some people that are interested like Jenica, but until we actually get the funding and it starts spinning up, then the question of, okay, we're here, we're thinking of paying us to do X, Y, and Z. Are you on board? Until that actually happens, I don't really know. It's just a really good idea at this point. So anyway, I'm going to work on that run rate. I'm going to share it with you. I'm not going to publish it because this is one of those things that should be private. And we can start thinking, and I'm not going to go too deep into it, but just enough so that we're ready for that discussion with an angel investor or a VC that gets interested. And so we can have the discussion if they say, well, what if I give you 50 grand? What are you going to use for it? How long, what does that mean essentially? If I don't give you 500 like I'm asking for, or if I give you in 50,000 increments, I've had people have that kind of conversation. Us being able to have a good answer of why no, 50 is not enough. We actually need 100. Because otherwise the 50 is just it's not enough because of X, Y, and Z. We need 100 every month, every quarter, whatever. And we actually have a fully fleshed out methodology of how we would run the Deep Media as a company and what we'd actually be literally doing operational
Yeah, if you give us this much money, you get the iOS app, and if you give us this much money, you get live Grokpedia for any website that
right.
you can click and say, hey, go tell me if this is true, right? And there's a browser plugin for Chrome and Safari that will go reach out to Grok, and we have to pay for the XAI and say, hey, go tell us what's going on here, and put it inline in the web page. Things like that.
Right. So this, I need to prioritize this. I'm gonna work on fixing. What the frick? All the different interfaces are freaking out. Okay, it's not gonna let me select it. Awesome. Okay, I'm gonna do it this way. Anyway. I'm not going to try not to repeat myself. So I'm going to work on that. It's going to be a priority for me this weekend. I've been putting it off because I wanted to get the DMedia site up to a basic level. It's like
Mhm.
95% of the way there. I'll fix my bug that I just introduced. If you have any thoughts and ideas and what you want to do, just go for it. Create a PR. And if you feel confident enough, it's not going to break anything. Actually, I haven't added you to Vercel yet, but Vercel will check the DMedia code. So you'll be able to validate whether or not the build on Vercel actually works. So if you want to add any new functions or fix a bug or anything like that on DMedia, the website, go for it. I'm certainly not saying that you need to, just if you feel the need. Or you,
Sounds like the first thing I would do was add playwright tests.
I actually did add Playwright. So
Okay.
it is actually there, but I'm using it specifically to scrape Open Graph for X metadata,
No.
which is my cheesy way of getting around their paywall for their developer paywall. So, but it does work. But Playwright and Chromium is actually there. I just have to tweak it ever so slightly so it will run on Vercel. So hopefully I can do that hopefully within like 60 minutes after we break here. I was actually starting to work on it right before we joined. But if that works, then if you want to start adding CI/CD tests, bro, down with that.
Or Data Republican, I had Grok write me a script to scan all the folders in Data Republican and does a very basic test of like, does this page come up and have the content it's supposed to?
Cool.
And there's a couple of pages I had to like tell it not to do. But at some point, because there's like 37 pages in Data Republican, I mean, you don't realize how deep it is until you start poking around.
Yeah, it's pretty deep.
And so I had actually broken a couple of pages and didn't know. And then I was like, hey, Data, can you merge this? And she's like, and I said, oh, it passed all the tests. And she's like, we have tests? Well, yes, you can merge because we have tests now. Yay. Okay.
So I am on the dev side. I am, and it's actually, I didn't add Husky, although I could do that to manually run dev tests. But I am running manually lint and type check tests for DMedia right now in Prettier. I'm running those 3 on a regular basis. I probably should add Husky so that it just actually happens.
Playwright has a UI.
Things to do. What's that?
Playwright has a UI built in.
I'm sorry. What does?
Playwright.
It does. Yeah, it does. I mean, you mean if you want to run Playwright manually?
You can do Playwright UI minus UI or something like that. And it launches a little web interface, and you can say, I want to run this test, and it says, okay, in Chromium, and
sure.
And see which ones
fail. I've done that to debug my Playwright or my ETE test, my Playwright tests before. I haven't typically done that as per. I'm too lazy to do that, I guess. Is by the time I get to I'm posting a code update, the last thing I want to do is to fiddle with Playwright and run ETE tests manually. But I do think that's a smart way to do it because it gives you a lot more flexibility to make sure that something as complex as Data Republican didn't actually break.
But I actually see the funny thing is I actually don't test browse very much because it would have to download all that data and I don't want to. But what I do is I run all the tests from the command line and then some fail, and I go review all the ones that failed in the UI and see why they're failing. And that's how I knew that like Pennsylvania moved or something like that, and that's why it doesn't come up. And so I actually have in my test things of like, don't run Pennsylvania.
Okay. But the code still works, but just the test isn't working, is what you're saying, right?
Yeah, right. Classic test problem, right? And
Yeah,
the tests aren't complicated. They're like, go to this URL, make sure that this appears in the text. That's
right.
the complexity of the test.
Or this
And so
button is where it's supposed to be, that kind of shit. Yeah.
yeah, that's what Grok generated for me.
Okay.
And so that's really super basic. But my view of testing in general is that um, there's like this circle, and that's all the features that are on the website. And then there's the circle of like things that people actually use and that make you money. And those are the things you test the hell out of. And the weird edge cases, those you're not going to get to every time. And the win for automation is getting that core circle of like the ka-ching stuff works.
That you can, I mean, the workable product, the good enough
Yeah.
for customers. Got it. Yeah.
Yeah. So another war story. So we had all this automated testing at Chegg, and it was passing all the automated testing, and they pushed the new version, and checkouts dropped to 0. And I had set up a metric system to track everything that was happening in the website. And the problem had been that the website would break and nobody would notice for 4 hours until all the students woke up and started not ordering textbooks. And the business guy would be like, "What the hell, man?" And he woke up one night at 5 a.m. and said, because his baby was sick with the flu, and he's like, "Oh, I should check Chegg and see if everything's working, because I know they did a deployment last night." And there was no checkout button. Now, it was on the test bank, but it had been manually copied and it wasn't part of the deployment. So no button, people didn't click on it. But the automated test could find it in the HTML. So it said, "Oh, I just clicked on this image that wasn't there." And so having the metrics saved the day, and that saved the company, because it was the middle of rush. And so that probably saved us like $4 million by finding the problem 4 hours earlier.
Wow. That's a good value for the
Yeah.
effort you put into the test.
Yeah.
Return.
Yeah. Yeah. I paid my salary for the entire time I was there.
Yeah, no doubt. Well, that is kind of effectively our value as engineers is our worth is, are we providing that value? Are we making
Yeah.
things better? Are we making things break more? Okay, so the storefronts out there, that's one of the things on the agenda. The other thing that we've started doing, and I'm not sure how we do it rigorously, but finding beta customers. Oh, this is yet another thing I need to fix. So I need to add the Stripe media services subscription values out there. The stuff that's out there was just kind of a placeholder. So for customers, the bronze, silver, gold, platinum, and $100 a month membership. I think those are the things that we should focus on. There's other stuff that we've certainly talked about, but I think if we can get those 5 things to work, as far as get people to sign up, they're happy with the value of what they're getting. So $100 would essentially give them access to D-Media. Of course, it's free right now. The way that 404 Media does it is that they have ads in their site. And if you subscribe, you get the ad-free version. And they also have, for their podcast, they have a subscriber-only version of their podcast where you get a little bit extra content. We could think through what that means. But I think in the
Mhm.
short run, us just asking people to essentially contribute $100 and we'll give them some extra value in the future would probably be the place to start. But
Mhm.
the media services folks, those are who I think the initial customers that we should and try to find. Um, so does that still make sense as far as doing that? You hopefully you know what I'm talking about as far as the member services subscribers.
Yeah, I wonder if we should like approach Daily Wire.
Hmm. Why not? Yeah.
Yeah. It's like, hey, don't you want a plucky band of engineers to help you research stuff?
Right. Well, it's yes. You're talking about for straight up funding or asking them for to subscribe or to subscribe to our services. Or,
For funding and so on. Yeah. I mean, I don't know. I think it's worth talking to them.
yeah, I 100% think. Yeah, they're on my list, but I haven't reached out to them yet.
Yeah. See if
So
they're willing to meet with us face to face at AmericaFest.
I like that. Okay, I'll make a note.
Yeah, because I just subscribed to Daily Wire like a week ago because I watched Morning Wire every day. And now I watch it on Daily Wire Plus, and I don't have commercials. So I just get the news, and I don't have that annoying ad for um, Shopify in the middle.
Right. Yeah, this would be
Oh,
uh,
and
my third year being a subscriber. Yeah.
YouTube doesn't stop in the middle to show me some ad for Liberty Mutual.
Liberty.
Emu. It's like, oh no, not that commercial.
Yeah,
The
those commercials
pain.
are annoying. Okay. Yes, I agree. Daily Wire would be a great partner of some sorts.
Mhm.
Okay.
Oh, they'd be a great beta customer too. What's something you would like us to go research?
Uh, okay. Agreed. So I had this random thought of asking Michelle to help us with artwork. Because I've been basically just using Grok Imagine to do stuff. Um, and it's been relatively successful. I'm putting about like 5 minutes of effort into any artwork or videos you've seen, and it kind of shows. It's good enough. It's not amazing. So, do you have any thoughts about if that's just like a rabbit hole we don't want to go down, dealing with artwork and spending any effort on it, or do you think Michelle would be interested, or I don't know? What do you think?
Be interested. She is an AI artist, which means I don't think she can draw herself, but
Mm,
she does all the tools well because she does it like continuously.
yes.
So, if you want busty maidens with handsome men, she's your gal.
uh, yes, I would assume that she can do other things as well, but yes, that is her genre right now, and it works for her.
Yeah,
So,
she did that green pill, red pill, blue pill, purple pill thing I use sometimes.
oh, I didn't see that.
Yeah, and she did the promo for the Epstein thing of like going into the tunnel.
Oh, she did. Oh, that's cool.
Yeah,
All right.
yeah.
Um, so what I would that this is me exposing my inner Uber dork. I would love to have Dilbert and Blade Runner themes of artwork that we could add into
Mm.
stuff. Because I think there's a anyway, and but I just don't have the time to dedicate to even think. Is that does that even matter? Why am I even concerned about that? But somebody who's more art related and using some of the tools to create videos and or stills, um, maybe could spend some thoughts on that. So anyway, I think what I'm hearing is, yeah, why not? And but you know, Yeah, why not? So I'll
Yeah.
reach out to her and see if she's willing to join our little Mary band. Um, yeah, okay, I'll just leave it there. Uh, yes, ask. Um, what else? I did subscribe to Restream. It's $16. No, it's $20 a month.
Mhm.
Whatever. It seems to work for the most part. I'm gonna try to get OBS working with Restream, and hopefully it's a little bit better as far as my side of the interface is a little clunky, but I think it's and hopefully this all got recorded, but I guess we'll find that out pretty soon. Um, uh, I had a stray thought about, and it's certainly not important, about how to align um, Dude with Grokkopedia. I think they're both interesting side projects, and I don't think anybody's work wants or has the time to work on them full time, but they're kind of necessary in for different reasons. Obviously, there's a lot more money being spent on Grokkopedia right now than we're spending on Dude. Um, but I'm thinking if we can at least show that there's alignment and possibly even have Grokkopedia like longer term use Dude as one of the data sources, that would be, I think, beneficial and make it have more purpose rather than
Mm.
just an interesting place for us to drop our raw data. Um, do you have any random thoughts on that, or is that just one tangent too many?
Um, I think I earlier mentioned about having the Grokkopedia for the world thing. So that would be cool, and that would be where we would build a browser plugin, and you could say, "Is this true on any website?" And it would go out to Grok and say, "Is this true? Evaluate this." And this me that's just me grinding on my prompt because I think the prompt is getting pretty good and gives me pretty good answers every day.
Right.
And I'll post the news after we're done and see how it goes.
Uh, yeah, I think that's a really cool idea. But that's okay. All right, good enough. I like that as a thing, and I think that would be really useful. And it's
And we could demonstrate it on CNN because they're super biased, or MSNBC, and you could be like, "Oh, this is the story of the day. Let's see. This is all the stuff they're not telling you."
so how would I mean, other than that being a cool thing to do, how would that? Do you have any thoughts on? I mean, I guess that would just be almost a simple thing to do. Like once you tool that up, then there really wouldn't be a lot of tweaking unless Grok changed radically. You'd need to do. It would just
Uh-huh.
be an applet that would run on Chrome and would, much like other applets, would give you some feedback occasionally with pop-ups saying, we've validated that this site's full of shit, or it's 90% full of shit. So it says Grok. Um, is that kind of your thinking, or
Yeah. Or this website is on this team. Do with that what you will.
what do you think about making that part of the D Media subscription for a member?
Yeah, that'd be cool. That'd
That'd
be
be
value add.
that would
Yeah.
give people a reason to subscribe
Yeah.
right there.
Yep.
I mean, and we wouldn't really have to do much. Obviously, building initially will be a pain in the ass, but after it's built, as long as Grok doesn't change, there wouldn't be much
Yeah,
more.
we could even cache the answers, so we would only have to go out to Grok for new pages
Yeah,
that people
totally,
asked for. Yeah.
totally. Okay, so how do you? Okay, well, think some more about how you would want to integrate something like that with D Media, um, and possibly. I guess there really wouldn't be a mobile equivalent. but it would be primarily for the desktop users. Um, I don't know. I haven't actually experimented with mobile extensions on Chrome. Um, I
Mhm.
imagine they have to work, but they're going to work differently. Obviously, they have a
Mhm.
different, much smaller memory space. Uh,
Mhm.
yeah, that'd be interesting. Do you think that would be likely part of it? Make it um, platform independent? Make it work on Chrome mobile as well? Or do you?
Yeah, if that's possible, yeah.
Okay.
Or it could always there you can solve any problem with a layer of indirection. There could always be a web proxy you go through that like changes the thing.
Mm. Well, that gets back to our anti-bias infrastructure
Yeah.
and how to build out that prototype. That Oh wow, that would actually be a really good connectivity there. That would make a lot of more sense. Kind of a baby version of the antivirus infrastructure by essentially, if you were able to, rather than just simply saying you're full of shit, but actually give a flavor of how biased is this article, that kind of approach, that would be really interesting
Mhm.
and possibly really useful, rather than just simply saying, Grok doesn't agree with this article. Um, Focusing more on the anti-bias version, flavor of it.
Mhm.
What is the bias of this article?
Mhm.
That would be truly interesting. I wonder,
Mhm.
I wonder, I wonder how many people would be interested in that kind of extension to Chrome. Hmm. Okay. Um,
And we could have like a website that was CNN only honest.
almost like Fire. You familiar with Fire for universities? Have you heard of them?
Yes, I have heard of them in university. I've not heard of them in this context.
No, no, I haven't either. But I was just thinking of a Fire for um, public websites or
Yeah.
news organizations. You know,
Yeah.
that would be interesting. Do that kind of methodology and giving it, a number or color as far as how full of shit they are on a regular basis.
An article by article, even like,
Interesting.
oh, you want to read this opinion in the New York Times? Well, you should know that this is where these are the things they left off.
That
Make
would
up your own
be,
mind, right? This is like it's self-countering opinion. I
I mean,
mean,
that would be worth $100 a year to subscribe to. I think
yeah.
people to go through essentially D Media to view a list of the ratings on different news organizations, uh,
Hmm.
D Media Fire, if you will, and then
Hmm.
actually support and use the browser extension as the data source
Hmm.
for actually building out that list. And it would
Hmm.
be like the live version of it. That'd be cool. I think that would be a unique, cool product.
Hmm.
What do you? Okay, have you worked on this yet, or I know we've talked about it, but
I just came up with it this morning.
I thought we talked about it last week. Did we? I think we riffed on it earlier in the week.
Oh, really?
Yeah, because it. Well, or maybe I'm matching things.
We talked about
Nope,
the
I'm
prompt
not.
this week
What's that?
because we talked about the prompt this week because we talked about how Grok had blocked me, and then I figured out a way around it by telling it that it was like okay because I was giving like
Sure.
all sides, and it said, "Oh, I can do that." I'm like, "Okay."
God, I could have sworn we were talking about a browser extension as well. Maybe I dreamed it. I don't know. Entirely possible. Maybe great minds think alike kind of moment. I don't know. Okay, so cool. I think that would be. Um, I think that would be an easy win as far as value, and it wouldn't be providing a ton of extra. It would be an easily reproducible tool that if anybody else saw us do it, they would be relatively easy for them to reproduce it. Um, but I think the for $100 a year, value, I'm still kind of thinking about that as the membership baseline subscription for media. I think that would give us kind of first, what is it? First comer, first, I'm trying to think of the right phrase, first adopter. Um,
Mhm.
that would give us a bit of stickiness for people that start using it, and they would stay with us for longer periods of time. Is it? It'll be cool, but if Daily Wire, for instance, or somebody else that's kind of similar inclination decided to copy it, it wouldn't take them that much. They wouldn't have to like think super out of the box to be able to figure it out and to
I don't
hire.
know if that's in the skill set, but it might be a good thing for us to do as a beta customer of Daily Wire is get them to pay for the AI
Ooh,
credits. And then
yeah.
there's like the Daily Wire Truth extension, and they fund the development of it, and then we build it, and then it's like, okay, this is your Daily Wire Truth extension. It's an add-on to your Daily Wire
Mm,
that you can go to any website, you can read CNN or MSNBC and not be lied to, right? And we could call it the Morning Wire extension because it's fun watching Morning Wire because sometimes, like when Trump has a win, you can tell the glee, but they try really hard to be less biased and be like, well, this is what's going on. So I don't know. It's kind of fun that amuses me, anyways.
um, I don't know if they're. I think that makes a lot of sense to me. That connecting those types of possible partners or funders or customers, and something like this that simply is using Grok, and Grokopedia as a reference. Very similarly, and this is where I guess I'm connecting it with what we talked about earlier in the week, is that by adding community notes and Grok to right next to posts, and Musk was talking about this earlier in the week on All In podcast, which I tried to listen to pretty regularly. Um, that
The bit about the tampons in the men's restroom in the abandoned building was hilarious.
Oh, you mean from the most recent podcast?
Yeah, he's talking about how like nobody was in that building. It was completely
Oh yeah,
empty.
you're right.
They were still paying for like somebody to go in once a week and put the tampons in the men's bathroom
Yeah, it was like
in the empty
a
building. And he
museum
was
to
like,
woke. Is
yeah, and he's a classic engineer, right? He's like, these are all the things that have to happen for somebody use a
yeah,
tampon in the empty building.
I like that as well. That actually stood out to me as being just a, a a DevOps approach to the real world, and
Yeah. Well,
how
yeah,
for
how physicists see things. So like, how likely is this to happen?
yeah, very unlikely. But I mean, I assumed Twitter had become a museum to woke, but him recounting that story and Caldonis talking about it, his experience with it as well, and they're kind of riffing on it, is just kind of reaffirmed. Oh, it really was. Is it about more like a year before then? I had actually a couple years before that. Now that I think about it, anyway, I was working right next to Twitter headquarters at Van Ness and Mission,
Mhm.
which is literally, or at least was literally, just a street over. And so I'd walk by Twitter headquarters like 4 or 5 times a day, go get lunch, go work out, whatever. So I was constantly back and forth. There was nobody there. And I mean, nobody ever. It was empty all the time, the front. And you would expect a big organization. I mean, they took up this massive building and had this massive billboard or sign to them. You would assume there'd be more traffic. I saw maybe, one handful of people walk in and out every day. That was it. It always struck me as odd. And anyway. So,
Oh, and that's pre-COVID even, right?
yeah,
Yeah.
or it was actually during the beginnings of it. Yeah.
Yeah.
2017, 2018. So yeah, it was, I guess, God, that's 7 years ago now. Interesting. But
Yeah.
already back then it was a freaking, There was nobody
A
there.
ghost town.
It's quite
Yeah,
obvious.
and I know. I remember people were like, "Oh, Twitter's gonna die. He's laid off all these people," and I'm like, I don't know. I think he looked at the number of people coming in every day and said, this
It
person
was
hasn't
very.
come in months."
It gave me very similar vibes to Yahoo, because
Yeah.
I was at Yahoo back in up until about 2010, 2011. So in those days, as we were still $1 billion revenue, but it was declining every year. So there was a sense that something was wrong. And it was very obvious for us that we're working there that something was wrong for a lot of different reasons I won't bore you with. You probably heard me riff on it before.
Well, I
But,
had an employee that worked for them, Josh Richardson, and he worked on Yahoo Finance, I think, and they got sold basically.
yeah,
And it
well,
was
that's
like, why did you sell this division that was making money? And you're like, oh, Yahoo Travel. Yeah, it was like, oh, we had a division, it was making money, and we just sold ourselves, and now we're gone.
yeah,
And so
to
he went to
Verizon
Chegg.
of all people at the time. Yeah. Um, but all of us having problems, and when you're working in a company, you always have indications that something's not right. There's always something not right, but the external, very visible signal that there was something wrong is on Fridays, up towards I think it was in 2010. Fridays, we had kind of the early days of the European standard of, hey, you don't need to work 5 days a week, 4 days a week's good enough. And it kind of got implemented by osmosis. It wasn't really on purpose, but it just sort of happened. That a bunch of us started I worked infrastructure and managed uh, teams of researchers. So I was there every day. But on Fridays, I started noticing that the parking lot was emptying out. And towards the end, before I left, it was freaking empty. Nobody was showing up. So anyway, the reason why I mentioned this is I got the exact same vibe from Twitter headquarters all the way back, like 7 years ago, that it appeared to be empty or very loosely traveled on a consistent basis. And there were certain days a week where I just didn't see anybody. So it was definite signal, very similar to what Musk and others, when they, basically took over, in the violent overthrow, I'm being sarcastic, of Twitter, that they showed up and nobody was there. And it was obvious that nobody had been there for a while. It was just kind of this husk of an organization that looked very robust on the outside. It had a very hard outer layer, but on the inside, it was extremely hollow. There wasn't really actually much going on. And his the same thing could have been done to Yahoo and probably other organizations, but definitely at Yahoo, we could have easily pared it down to like probably 3,000 people, when in fact we had more like 14 when I left.
Yeah,
It was
the
just a
people
lot of
actually doing the
people
work.
that didn't do anything.
Yeah, I'm going to tell you a Dan Rosenwig story because he was our CEO at
Yeah.
Chegg. And so you probably overlapped with him. And he sent the guy who ran Yahoo Mail to live for a month at a motel somewhere in the Midwest because he wanted Yahoo Mail to be faster. And that was the best way to make that happen.
So when Yahoo Mail was getting rebuilt, this is the first big rebuild of Yahoo Mail. This is probably 2010, 2009. So they worked on this rebuild of Yahoo Mail to make it more efficient. And essentially how Yahoo Mail worked in those days is that they were cheating off of our ability to deliver data faster. So we had these huge NAS devices with a little bit of software on top of them, but they were essentially appliances. So Yahoo Mail was run all off of the caching and the capability of the NAS appliances to deliver data faster. So it was a big, massive cheat code. And after a number of years, that wasn't working anymore. Yahoo Mail was slowing down, and it was starting to piss people off. And we could see it because the ad revenue was starting to drop. So that's what motivated people. Oh, we got to do something. Ad revenue is dropping. Makes sense. So long story short, they went through this massive software re-architecture rebuild and of Yahoo Mail, and we were, I think, 6 weeks away from going in production.
Mhm.
Um, Nobody had thought about caching, like nobody. So it had been built in essentially a lab for better. It's not quite a lab, but pretty much a lab environment, and nobody had done any really real world testing. And so I can't take credit for it. One of my colleagues um, started asking some pretty simple questions like, "Hey, how are you going to deploy it? We've got this date 6 weeks out. How's that going to work?" And people were, and I'm recounting how he was explaining it to me because he had an extremely, I remember the conversation loosely, that he was extremely animated when he talked to me right after this conversation, and a lot of hand waving, and he was quite loud. But essentially, they hadn't even considered it. They were just, all the big wigs and a lot of the engineers that he was having this loose conversation with after one of their meetings where they're talking about the glorious implementation rebuild and announcing the 6 week out date of deploying new Yahoo Mail. They hadn't even considered it. It wasn't like it, they just didn't think about it. And
Mhm.
they just assumed that they, at some point within the next 6 weeks, they were going to dump it on ops like they always had, and they were just going to figure it out. Which is not reality and not how it works. So, but one of the most basic things that they didn't even consider is caching. So, which that was one of the untold strengths of Yahoo, was our caching infrastructure was pretty robust.
Mhm.
Nobody else at that time really had the kind of networking teams or the caching layers that we did.
Mhm.
So anyway, not to bore you why and all the cool stuff that we did at the time that was revolutionary, not any big deal today. But so within 6 weeks, he and his team and some others actually strung together essentially a custom CDM network, which didn't really exist at that point. There was a few companies that supported it, but they weren't capable of doing something like this, not even close. And they,
Mhm.
within a matter of weeks, not only came up with the CDN caching layer specifically for Yahoo Mail that was going to work, and tested it, but also came up with a deployment plan,
Mhm.
working with his idiots. So anyway, so it was extremely funny. Not at the time because it was super stressful because the company technically could have failed at that point, because falling on your face with something like that, like deploying a major rebuild of like your main web property and having it essentially fall on its face, which is exactly what would have happened. It wouldn't have worked at all anywhere, probably, maybe in Santa Clara, but probably not even there. um, would have been like the end of the company. It would have been a quick, quick demise. So he in a matter of weeks saved $1 billion company. So which is pretty amazing feat. All from
That is pretty amazing. Asking the right question. Yeah, this is why I don't mind being called grumpy. It's because I have too long been that guy who like asked the question in the meeting of like, "Hey, how come there isn't a build everything script?" And hey, how come the test bank is a bunch of shit?
how come none of these tests are
And
enabled? Yeah, that kind of little annoying
yeah,
questions. Be like, oh, don't worry about that. This
well,
customer is
at
failing.
Cisco, they had things set up well. There was like a development cluster, and there was a test cluster, and there's production. And they artifacted everything and so on. But the reality was that you have this microservice architecture. So you have versions of every microservice, and they don't all live together. And you couldn't actually, and in theory, you could deploy your little microservice that you're working on. Because the nice thing about a microservice architecture is you can assign an engineer to that microservice, and that's their job. But that microservice has to talk to other microservices. And if everything's in flux, and one of my jobs there at Cisco was we had to boil production down onto a single virtual machine for the 3-letter agencies, because the way Intersight worked is that it would speak to the mothership at Cisco and feed all your networking data to the mothership. And the 3-letter agencies were not a fan of this. So they're like, well, we're just going to shut you off. And we said, okay, well, what we'll do is you can run the mothership inside your firewall. And they were all okay with that, because they're like, oh, we can finally see what's going on with our firmware versions.
Mm-hmm.
And to do that, we had to reverse engineer production, which didn't exist. Like they would say, oh, we're running version 123 of this artifact. Well, 123, they're now up to version 300, and the artifactory was set up to only keep 100 versions, which means they don't even know it, and they had no way to tie a version number to a particular Git hash. Wow. So there's no way to build it. Now at Skyport Systems, we had better engineers who were like, the DevOps is really good at Skyport Systems. Like our deployment was like, here's this Git hash, deploy it onto production, and that would happen. And that was also the way we had Hummingbird and Canary and test, right? And that would go through all that. And we did complicated tests because we're testing networking. So we had tests that would be like, do a denial of service attack, send partially formed packets in the network. It would do all this crazy stuff to the networking equipment to like make sure it would work.
Real tests.
Real tests. That was all there. And we had a really good Indian guy who ran like QA. And so all that stuff was really good. So yeah, anyways.
Yeah, the CI/CD, it is the thing that ultimately makes a company work or not work. It's interesting with all the vibe coding and everything else that's going on, where the value of software development is obviously kind of been diminished, I guess. But the ability to run things, build an application that appears to work, and publishing it is one thing, but making it so that it can scale and that you can actually test for failure scenarios when a team is actually working on something is just and very interesting that so many organizations just don't have the patience or the skills or combination of those to actually make that work reliably. Just doesn't seem to be possible. I haven't come across any organization yet that can do that. They can do one, but not the other. So, which is just, I don't know if that's human nature or it's definitely something. Maybe it's just Conway's law in application that, organizations just they group for different, for specific skill sets to the exclusion of ones that they don't, kind of personality wise understand or can fully implement. You're either wired one way or you're wired the other. So I guess maybe that's why some people like Musk and some others are successful, because they can kind of bridge the gap between the two. So as opposed to just being a really great engineer or a really great product person, being able to be both. You probably just missed what I just said.
I missed some of it. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
But you were asking about Musk and you were talking about personalities and so on. And yeah, like
being able to do both, essentially build a product to, which is what vibe coding can do nowadays. Replit can build a product almost from scratch and get it working. And it can be some fundamental idea and do something cool, but then like building and expanding it and then adding people to your team requires, CI/CD to, simplified way of explaining it. And being able to marry both those things on a consistent basis of supporting a product while doing CI/CD and on a reliable basis. I've never really come across a company yet that can do that.
It always seems weird. It seems weird to hear that like it takes 20 years from something to come from a university into production until you try to put something in production and you're like, wow, well, there's a reason for that. Atoms suck, right? They're heavy, they're hard to move. Electrons are easy, and us computer people, we get spoiled.
Yeah.
We're like, oh, we'll just write a program to do that, and then it'll do it forever. And it's like, yeah, that's not quite true.
Well, it's like my Mac SC that I have sitting next to me. That one of my projects that I have wanted to do for a while is to have it run and manage all the sensors in the house.
Mm-hmm.
So all the various IoT stuff that's popped up that we're using, that's become just kind of I don't know. We just expect it to work now. Turn the lights off, on and off, and shit like that. Operate the sprinklers. That if the fundamental underlying platform doesn't change, like a Mac SE, it's freaking ancient. But I understand the protocols. I can decode them. I'm sure that I could. There's probably DB9s on this thing. I think from memory, maybe probably DB9s. So, but and I'm sure I can probably buy an interface to do DB9 to USB or DB9 to Wi-Fi, something like that. But the fundamental basic architecture of the Mac SE is pretty sound. So I'll have to do some coding, but because a lot of this stuff doesn't change that often, and the IoT devices don't change that often, that's actually possible. I could actually spend some time. I'm not sure when I'd have the time because I haven't yet to do that. But because that fundamental architecture won't really change, I could build it up and it will stay.
Mm-hmm.
Somebody joined because you've been here forever. You want to take a chance and see what it is?
On X, let's see.
Let's see.
Oh.
Let's see. Can you hear me? I don't know.
You can.
Yeah, we can hear you.
How's it going?
Cool. Pretty good. Sorry. When did you start?
Like 2 hours ago. We've been
2 hours and 15
rambling
minutes
all over
yeah.
the place.
Holy crap. I'm sorry that I just got slammed with taking care of my mother-in-law, who's 97, but
oh wow. Yeah. It's been a topic for our conversations. I'm sorry, who is this?
Ari.
Oh, Ari, hi. Okay.
Did you remember me from the, I think it was 3 meetings ago?
Yeah, totally.
I was dropping.
Thanks for joining.
Yeah, you're welcome. So can you give me a quick recap, Reader's Digest, whatever?
Please. Actually, I can hold on a second.
I don't know where you can't see me, but my camera was showing when I was trying to start.
Yeah, I don't know why my interface changed, but decided. Oh, now it's okay. Let me see if I can. Here it is. Okay. Okay. So what I need to do is.
I think the first time I joined you guys, it was just a space. Cool.
Yeah, let me try to. My screen saving just broke, so let me bring it back up.
Yeah, I can see you. Oh man, I'm so sorry I didn't join before.
No, it's all right. Totally good. Let me see if I can try one of these. Here we go. Okay, so this is what we've been talking about, and I will post it up to the Doge Network in a bit, so you can you don't have to take notes in my notes. It will be posted. So the synopsis is that I'm not sure how much you've been catching up or following us lately. That we started the Doge Network primarily to collaborate on projects. That was the whole idea. And I think we've accomplished some of those goals. We've created some templates. We've been holding these meetings. We've been making introductions to people. People kind of know that we're around. having conversations about how we can work through. So I think we've accomplished maybe 50% of that stuff. And we kind of got to the point where we're talking about like, how do we fully support these projects, like with money? How would we do that? So very long story short, we came up with this idea of creating a media company, not primarily to make it $1 billion company, but to earn some bucks and to have it be a vehicle essentially for funding to go into the projects. So
like piloting a bit, and as you build out and successfully implement, then you go back for more funding, sort of thing, or
kind of, yeah. Well, maybe another way of putting it is I was talking to different nonprofits and other companies about, hey, wouldn't it be awesome if you would support Doge projects?
right.
There's a bunch of us have organized and we're doing similar stuff and we're having these meetings. And it was hard for them to like wrap their head around exactly how they could do that in a way. And I was trying to explain to them, hey, OpenStack this and Linux that, and they're like, it was way too much. So it makes sense to me because I've lived it.
No. It's when we're passionate about something, we don't know how to level up right to the right, messaging.
Get into a
it's
pitch.
tough.
30 seconds, explain it to somebody who has no point of reference.
Right.
So, as soon as I started saying things like Linux, they were just like, whoop, they're not following me. So way I thought about it is like, screw that. Why don't we just build the thing that funds the projects ourselves?
Okay.
We'll understand how and why we're going to help the people working on these projects. But then if we build, it doesn't have to be magical, like pierce the veil of profitability kind of media company, but it has to be at least enough to similar to like Daily Wire, 44 Media, Wall Street Journal, some others, but to be, our own slightly spunky version of that. Because a lot of the people that are doing this Doge related projects, a lot of them are researchers. They're doing journalism. It's just more spunky, not necessarily trying to make money journalism, trying to like JJ Smith in San Francisco. I'm not sure if you followed him, but he's going around as a one-off example. And he's recording the kind of on the street mayhem in the Tenderloin in San Francisco, what's going on, because his kids go to school in the Tenderloin. So, there's drug addicts behind his kids' middle school. And he's telling them, dude, move away from here. This is illegal. And then having the city and some of the NGOs show up and start handing out drug paraphernalia, and the drug dealers show up right behind them. Coincidence, I'm sure. And they're selling them drugs, and he's just like, hey, you guys, this is really actually illegal. You got to get the fuck out of here. So anyway, without going off on that, but he's
by the way, I just think this week I heard a thing about the momentum of the fact that by keeping people dependent on what that Special K is or whatever, and keeping them as zombies on the street, it fills the pockets of the people who are doing the projects to help the homeless. It's actually like a money laundering thing. Anyway,
vicious circle. And whether or not anybody went into this thinking that was going to be the outcome, I'd like to assume the best of people, that this is just an unfortunate byproduct of their altruism.
Exactly.
It is what it is.
It is what it is.
But for what JJ is doing is he's doing journalism, and whether or not he expects to get paid or whatever, I would assume he doesn't give a crap. He just wants the drug addicts off his street so his kids can go to school.
Right. All right.
But if we could throw him a few bucks and support him in some way, and maybe give him an even bigger platform to get the message out, so maybe that the board of supervisors in San Francisco are shamed into actually doing something about it. There's a street in Oakland that's become, actually, I think if it's the same street, I think it actually is, from when I was in high school. I've lived in this area for a long time. That it became a dumping ground for folks that didn't want to go to the dump. And so people would dump their commercial waste on these people's street. And it's been going on for years. And another guy, I think he goes into the handle Oakland Dad, but he lives in that area, and his kids have to walk by it to go to school. Just similar example, and it's a freaking waste dump. And the city won't do anything about it.
No.
So him and his neighbors have cleaned it up multiple times, but within sometimes within hours, but at least days, it's right back to the same as it was, because the police and the city don't seem to care. It's not a big enough deal to them. But for the people who live there, it's a pretty big deal. They don't want to live in a freaking garbage dump.
I think you would actually get sort of a demerit, so to speak, for doing things for the people. And I don't mean to be overly pessimistic, but I think I think there's like encouragement to avoid helping the community. And I think a lot of police are upset about it. That's why there's an abandonment rate to their profession. But yeah. I was just thinking about, for this media thing though, did you ever look into the Lindsay, what's his name? What was he was kicked out of his own media organization. James Lindsay does a thing where if you want to be a reporter, he funds the equipment. So you might want to check out how he does that, because it sounds a little bit like a templatist thing. But shaming the municipality is only like part of it. The other part is sort of the idea behind precinct strategy, which is to try to see if we can get committee men to fill empty seats in these precincts who can then position people to vote for who would be the replacement for the councilman. Is that too much to say about it, or is that?
No. I mean, it is a logical kind of.
Like it's like, okay, here's the problem, shame, but I don't even think some of those council people are smart enough to understand what shame feels like, because they're increasing their bank account. But
there's a certain type of person that wants that kind of job, for the most part. 100%. So
anyway, I'm just James Lindsay's doing that sort of thing for reporting, and that precinct strategy is Dan Schultz too. He has a whole website on the value.
How do you think you spelled Lindsay? I'm having a brain fart.
Lindsey. He started a media group that was independent, sort of going against mainstream a long time ago. And then they were some leadership or something was captured, or investors, and they booted him out, trying to defame him. And then he just started his own thing. But James Lindsay is it what's his group? I'm sorry, shoot.
I guess okay. I can find it.
Lindsey, James Lindsay, and he's if you listen to some of his, he has a real strong sense of understanding history and stuff like that. So it's kind of interesting. Anyway, he does a group. Oh, it's called OMB or OMG, which is something media group.
That sounds familiar. OMG. Okay.
It's not oh my god, but it's OMG, which is he calls this group OMG. But if you go on their website and you can look into, hey, I want to participate, there's a whole outline there as how he's doing it, and it might give you ideas as to, hey, if we're going to be a media kind of company, that's sort of the initial investment, which is like devices to record and
or maybe processes. A partner as well.
Partner, template, outline. Yeah, so it would probably be beneficial to check up on some of his stuff for the past year and see how he's doing it, what he's exposed. I think he did a lot of this undercover camera stuff where he would like go on these dates with these guys, posing as a date perspective, and go to like, Palo Alto cafes and hear about what's going on in Meta and stuff like that. So he was deep in it. He was showing some pretty interesting things there. Yeah. Anyway, sorry.
Veritas kind of work.
Veritas, that's what it was. Yeah. But OMG. But I'm just.
Veritas is who he got kicked out of?
I think so. Yeah.
Oh, that James Lindsay. Okay, I'm starting to put it together. So he's become a little bit more guerrilla journalism since he got booted out of Veritas. They became a little interestingly kind of morphed into a more stodgy organization than what he started. Got it. I'm connecting the dots now.
Yeah. Is that your music or mine?
I think it's yours.
It's mine. My headset.
Oh.
Turned off. and I thought, oh, maybe it needs to be plugged in. Maybe it's like the battery's low, and then
Bluetooth 5 fixes all that.
We do
Anyway.
need theme music. I didn't consider it, but it's
yeah.
Anyway,
I'll just plug it in because I think that works, and that caused iTunes to start playing.
That's right. So I derailed you. So okay, so that's my. There's just I want to just contribute some ideas based off what I know. I don't know. I mean, take it for what it is, but I think I sent you a link to listening to the Charlie Kirk Ice-T guys where Charlie Kirk was talking about how he started out. Did I send that to you?
I'm not sure that.
It was like in June of this year.
Oh,
and he talked
maybe.
No, the interview was in June of this year, but I sent it to you when I talked to you guys, and in that he said, "Here's how I started. I went to this. I probably snuck into this event and talked to Foster Freeze. And Foster Freeze is this like multi-billionaire in energy and gas. And I was literally in a stairwell and saw him, and I gave him my stairwell pitch. He said, which is like, and he just saw a guy who was passionate, and he said he gave me 10 grand, and that allowed me to launch a website, and it allowed me to do certain things. And then when he saw that I sincerely invested the money in real tangible something, then he gave me another slightly larger donation, because I had a plan that laid out already as to where I would go next with that and how to use the money.
Right.
So I think I sent that link to you in text.
That does sound familiar.
Yeah. But anyway, it's a funding. It's the way that he did funding, and obviously he built TPUSA, which is gigantic, and I think.
Well, it is now. I mean, it wasn't for a very long time. So,
right.
Yes, I think it doesn't take much. All it really takes is to repetition and consistency to a certain extent. I mean, there's always the desire to pivot to something new and cool, but to a certain extent, consistency and consistency and reliability. Anyway,
but the whole Doge, the federal Doge thing, has amazing things. If you go to Doge.gov and you see that there are constant updates about what's up, and when I present this to people, they're like, "Oh my God, I can't really." There's whatever million credit cards out there, and they shut down 413,000 of them already. So when you give them little small bite-sized facts about the success rate, that gets traction. I don't know.
Agreed. So we built the D Media site. It is, for lack of a better word, it's somewhat started being a 404 media clone. I don't know if you know that group, but they're very similar to what I think D Media should be. Very data-driven journalism, very tackling stories are more tech-focused than most people. Not exactly the opposite of Daily Wire, but certainly ideologically opposite. But anyway, so I thought, okay, let's start there, because there is no conservative leaning version of 404 Media. They're doing good journalism. I listen to them. I actually subscribe to them as well. I think there's a lot of goodness there. In fact, I'd like to collaborate with these folks. I think there's a lot we can agree on, like the idea of the Department of Open Data, of having a single place where all the raw data for all the different government agencies is stored permanently, which doesn't exist right now. But if we can create that and manage it, that's non-politics. Figuring out how to standardize on some JSON TSV formats out of that would be incredibly useful. It would enable a bunch of different interesting results that probably we can't even fathom. So I think there's a lot of overlap or synergy. So anyway, so I created this. It's a Next.js version of the 404 Media Ghost site. I've added some additional goodness. I have to tweak it a little bit. I've actually built it supports Twitter, YouTube, and stories. So And I've
Stories, you mean IG? Is that what you mean? So what do you mean stories?
sorry.
I'm sorry. Stories. What do you mean by stories? I'm sorry.
Oh, just like actual text stories.
Okay.
So
Okay.
yeah, so if somebody and so I have the footer down here, which is pretty simple on purpose. This is basically a clone of what Wall Street Journal does. Um, and
You know what? In your live stream, in this stream, it got a black. I don't actually see the screen. Darn it.
for
Let's
what?
see. You were sharing your screen, but I can't see. I can't
Oh, and
see it
the broadcast isn't sharing it.
in the rest stream.
Oh, that's annoying. But
I'm sorry. Anyway, so go ahead.
no, it's I think that I'm using the Chrome version of Restream. I think it broke. So there's a OBS. I don't know if you know that app, but there's it's a it's an open source version of actually there is no actual equivalent
Conversion.
so it's an open source streaming tool
Okay.
that some folks have been supporting, and it essentially allows you to stream to multiple different platforms at once. So you can
Sweet.
So you could literally stream to 10 different platforms using OBS. It's a downloadable application. It's all open source.
This is a throwback. It's kind of like the Trillium of, okay, cool.
Yeah, kind of. Yeah.
Cool.
So I need to just start using it because I subscribe to Restream because there's some of the mechanics that OBS doesn't actually support because they have a plugin to OBS, so I should be more reliable is basically because I think it just broke because Chrome can only handle so much.
Yeah, Chrome is out of control, and if you leave the default install of Chrome, it still is running in the background. Which is, are you using a Mac or a PC?
Mac, yeah.
Okay, yeah. I don't know if you know this is a classic Mac problem, which is got this unbelievable ability to just take more and more resources if you don't totally quit apps. So one of the things I always tell some people that this is my experience is like, I got this incredible machine. It's really slow. It's like, actually, because you're hitting the red dot, you're not actually quitting the app. And by resetting apps on a regular basis, you gain it back, but not by quitting out of it. Anyway, just
okay.
So cool. So OBS, I have to check that out, man. That's kind of cool.
Yeah, it's a very cool tool. But you have to have it plugged into a streaming service of some sort. Now you can just broadcast your own, but it won't like go anywhere. So you could, so for instance, I've used it to record audio of meetings. It does that very well. So if you want to do things privately, like essentially you can record like a Zoom meeting. For instance, the audio and the video are two different streams, two different channels. You can do that with OBS. It's
cool.
capable of doing it. So there's a lot of cool things you could do, kind of just using it natively without paying anything. But its ability to restream to multiple platforms is pretty awesome. So anyway, I just need to start utilizing it. I've just been lazy. So lazy is probably not the perfect word, but anyway, go out to dmedia.ai. That is the basic application. It does work for the most part. I need to tweak my. I'm using Playwright to scrape X metadata, so my X posts will actually metadata will actually be displayable. But that's it's working on my laptop. It's just not working on Vercel right now. But hopefully I'll be able to fix it within a half hour. But the basic idea is we're going to support subscriptions. Pierce was just riffing on a really novel idea on how to sell $100 a year subscriptions, something kind of simple using Grokpedia and basically critiquing public sites.
Cool.
So I think would be super easy for anybody to reproduce it. But I could see if we're, what's the right phrase? First provider, first comer, first adopter. I don't know. I can't think of the right phrase.
First to market.
First to market. There you go. If we're first to market with it, we could hopefully grab some people, and I think it would definitely be worth $100 a year, and that can be kind of our entry member subscription. 44 Media has, I think they're making about $1 million a year right now on subscriptions,
Oh, that's sweet.
which is pretty cool for just kind of a guerrilla journalism team to
Yeah.
be able to get that kind of income. Now they've been at it for 2 years, and they already had kind of a journalism background, so they somewhat have a heads up on us. But
Yeah, yeah.
I think if we can pull together, like, I don't know, 10, 15, 20 people that are doing government transparency related work and get them to post once a week and cross post to D Media and to their, keep doing what they're doing, but just allow us to cross post to the D Media thing.
Right.
A little bit of goodness, then I think we could, we could get to 10,000 mile in a month. I think it's possible.
Maybe. I mean, it depends what you're delivering, and if you can get to the group of people that are interested in it. But I mean, you could go into the Doge account on X and just sort of see who's in there following them, and see if we can get, sort of advertise in a weird way out of guerrilla art.
Yeah, 100%. So, so that does. Let me grab this, and this is actually you should have the ability to see this.
Maybe.
If I post it. So the private chat, this is actually public. Oh, is that working? What just happened?
I think you're just broken. So
Yeah.
there's a lot of API stuff that's snapped.
It's misbehaving.
Yeah.
Let me see. Maybe it's because it's not large enough. Maybe it's a screen size issue.
You will play around with that. I'm just going to use the restroom for a sec. I'll be right back.
No problem. Can you see my shared screen, Pierce?
Yeah.
Okay. So you should be able to
videos.
Okay. So he was just mentioning that the across X it's not working, which is bummer, but I kind of assumed that had it broken.
Yeah, the live stream is frozen for me.
Yeah. Screw it.
Well,
anyway, I got somebody to join.
There was a massive attack on Ukraine last night by Russia.
So that's what Stephen mentioned, that last night was really bad. So I didn't see any news reports, so I wasn't sure what he was talking about. He said he was in the middle of a meeting with somebody, so. Wow, this thing is really misbehaving.
Yeah, let's see. 458 drones and 45 missiles.
Jesus. Man. Steven's more brave than me. That would freak me the fuck out. I'd like to think that I'm that brave, but I don't know.
Well, Kiev is a big city, so there's all the places he's not.
Valid. Yeah. Okay, so let me see. Hey, so let me know.
You want me to try joining on a browser as opposed to that? I don't know if I can do that.
Oh, it's not letting me share my screen anymore.
Yeah.
I could close this out and reopen it. You guys.
All right. How did you send me I forgot. You sent me a link in XDM. So just if you want to send me another link.
Well, it should be the same link to join.
Okay.
Yeah, it should be exactly the same. So let me stop this and I'll restart it.
All right, I'm out. I'll be right back.
It's not even let me ending the stream. All right, I guess I'm just gonna kill Chrome. Okay, I'll be back. I'll restart it in a sec.
Okay.
Oh wow, my whole laptop's freaking out. All right, this really fried things. All right, I might actually have to hard reset my laptop. It's okay. It's gone crazy. Crazy. Let's see if I can stop the process. All right, can you hear us?
Yeah, I can see it. I don't see you, but I see. Okay, there you are. Sweet.
Okay, cool. So let me
So you're gonna try to share the screen or just
not.
drop something in the chat?
I'm going to try to share my screen. Let's see if this
You
works.
know what?
I'll
I'm
try
in
and
as
not.
am I in as guest? I don't know. Was I supposed to join something? Okay, yeah, I can see it now. Cool.
Cool. I'm just not going to stream for a bit, assuming that that's what caused it to go completely
Push it
crazy.
over the edge.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So
Sweet.
what? I had a bit of stream of consciousness yesterday. So I was thinking about. I was out on a run, trying to clear my head and trying to think of like, okay, I created this D Media app. We've got like somewhere around 15 to 20 people that are interested in doing something with us, but we haven't really quite given them something to do yet specifically. So how do we operationalize this? So if you look at the uh, GitHub repo Doge Dash Network website, and I can share the. Let me see if I can share the link so you don't have to try to type it out.
What's it? GitHub Doge dot.
It's in the private chat. You can just click on it. Yeah, the Chrome process had gone crazy, so I was able to stop it. I'm doing this a little bit unorthodox. That I'm posting kind of operational details of how to run a company to a public website or a public
Yeah.
repo. But I don't know. At some point soon,
I don't know.
one of the things I was just talking to Pierce about is that I need to come up with a minimum run rate. So if an angel or a VC steps forward and says, "We'll fund you," I need to be able to articulate how we're going to spend our
Of
money.
course. Yeah.
So that's on my. I've done the basics of it. I need to actually write it, make it communicable. So I'm going to do that very soon. And anybody who's interested in participating and wants to talk about it, because anyway, I'll talk about it in a second or in a sec. But anyway, so there's a bunch of information that I've riffed on about what D Media could do, and I've actually posted the pitch publicly. So if you look at my DM on the D Media website, and then click on about, that'll actually take you right to the public pitch, which is also a bit unorthodox. I'm doing this weird.
So when I hit my DM, I gotta sign in to subscribe or
You
give
just go
that.
down to the about. You don't have to sign in to do that.
All right.
But that stuff does work actually.
Sweet. Who's your processor right now?
I'm using Clerk and Stripe.
Okay.
Yeah. So Clerk works pretty well. I've run into a few small bugs, but overall, for a cheap freemium plus auth service, pretty amazing. I'm very impressed.
So that's cool. So this would be a like LLC or 50.
Oh yeah, the D Media. I I guess it depends. I haven't. I'm not sold. It either needs to be an LLC or it needs to be a C corp. One of the two.
I think you start with this. My opinion is start an LLC, and when you crest past a certain point of income, then you convert to C corp.
Yeah, our accountant will make us do that at some point. I think for me it was 160,000, but that was many years ago. It was like at that point it was like better to be a C corp.
Mm-hmm.
My basic thinking is I don't want to spend the money to incorporate until we've got money coming in, because that's always proven to be a bad
scenario. Yeah,
or a step out of order. So if I can convince somebody to give us 50 grand, then LLC. I think that makes sense.
Yeah.
If I can convince somebody to give us $500,000, which is kind of my initial big ask, then C corp, because they're gonna want us to have a board and stuff like that, and to do that, you really need a C corp. So I think depending on who we get, whose attention, and how the funding works out, then that will determine one of those two entities.
This is I mean, the reason why I was thinking about it is funding. How do you bring money in? What's the gateway for that? And then where does it sit? And then you need that, like a business level bank account,
Yeah.
C corp or LLC. And then the question is will you get deplatformed or something? So do we open up a couple accounts just in case there's some sort of
possible. It's possible. I think I've had this debate with a few people over the last few months, but I do think, I hope, but I'm 80% sure that a parlor scenario is behind us. Primarily just because that there was an assumption, and maybe it was accurate at the time, that when Parler came out and got deplatformed, that there was an assumption amongst it, certainly in Silicon Valley, that everyone's on our side, whatever that happens to mean. So that is definitely not the case anymore. At best, Silicon Valley is split in two right now.
Oh yeah,
I think it may even have been skewed to like 60% more conservative leaning, which I think it's traditionally always been.
It had been. If you watch like Steve Blank, you know who he is. He's a famous investor and seed guy. Steve Blank. He worked with like Y Combinator, and there's a huge archive. We've got like a treasure trove of stuff about seed funding and stuff like that. But yeah, they were all really conservative, and then it kind of went weird sideways. I think new hires and stuff, but I think the bleed out.
I think Google kind of started it, of wearing politics in their sleeve, and that was kind of trendy and cool, kind of early effective altruism.
Right.
You know, look at me, I'm awesome, I'm better than you. I got a lot of that at Yahoo and some other places.
I used to work right there. I used to work right at Silicon Graphics right there.
That's right. Oh, yeah.
Oh, that's, yeah.
Silicon Graphics. Yeah.
Yep. That was my.
Anyway, without getting completely off tangent, or off topic. So what I started thinking through is, okay, you know, we've done some of the basics. We need to start putting them together. So what's the right order? So this is definitely a stream of consciousness, but the gist of it is I'm trying to create an ops plan of how we can work repeatably on D-Media as a business while supporting the goodness of all the Doge products or projects. So effectively, in a kind of Silicon Valley terminology, how do we manage this product or these commercial products to support the projects that actually feed the products? So I'm starting to think through that, and I posted a bunch of issues on this repo because we don't have a Trello board or any kind of Kanban at this moment. Now we could start doing that, but you know, first things first. I think GitHub issues is as good a place as any, and it's certainly a place I was easily able to share it with you, and you can see it.
This is cool. This is really nicely done, man.
Oh,
so just give you credit for your stream of consciousness structures. But
cool. Thank you.
Yeah, you don't need the Trello board until you want to prioritize things.
That's right.
Yeah.
And you want to remember the priority, right? Because you did all this work to say, oh, this is first and this is so on. But like,
no,
and actually the other thing with priorities is, especially in a project like this, is you really only need to pick your top 3 and put them in your doing column.
Yes.
And then you're done, right?
I agree with that.
You know how to read the list and say, I want to do this, I want to do this, I want to do this. And then it's all about managing how many things you're doing at once so you don't go crazy.
And staying focused on each one of those, and management meetings, any of all meetings, and no functional forward momentum.
So for me today, what I'm going to work on is the things I'm checking off. I think I just found a new bug, so I'm gonna fix fix these two things. I realized that I didn't add social media cards, so when I post at X, it doesn't actually come up with any data. But easy when I build an application at 8. Missed a few details like that. But I'm going to add social media tiers. I won't bore you with the details, but it's I'll show and share it with everyone. But it's essentially an idea of melding the $100 subscription per year with some actual multi-platform media services that with technology experience.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's something that also potentially we could sell.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think we need a lot of customers like that.
Mm-hmm.
Like maybe Daily Wire is not a great example, but somebody like a Daily Wire that's kind of a lobbying. No, actually, it's a bad example. A good example would be there's a lot of tech leaning lobbying organizations that are all over the place. They usually have really good kind of knowledge of the law and regulations and a specific area of focus, whether it's California or climate change or whatever. They have a specific, axe to grind. But typically they have almost no tech experience. It's they're either lawyers or they're whatever, they lobbyists. So anyway, I've seen this repeated a couple of different places. They need help when it comes to tech. So if I have some contacts there. So I'm going to reach out and right after I update this and start reaching out and saying, hey, I've got about 5 to 10 people that could, work with you on a regular basis. Are you interested? It costs somewhere between, and we basically charge somewhere between 1,000 and 5,000 a month for a couple posts. A post a week is the baseline, and the cost escalates for how many different platforms they want to.
So do you have I guess you have to do a style guide and expectations of what a post maybe something like that.
Yes, I haven't done that yet, but yeah, that would be the next step.
Yeah. So if I give money if I push and give money, where's that money going to go?
It would go to D-Media, the company.
Oh, okay, so it goes into a company account that has sort of
the LC or C corp.
Okay. Cool.
So the basic idea is the first step would be we'd start paying salaries for a few employees. Mm-hmm. So probably Pierce, myself, and 1 or 2 other people, whoever wants to sign up. Maybe Jenica. Maybe you, whoever's interested. I don't really care actually at this point.
I understand.
Whoever's interested in working on it, and it doesn't have to be quote unquote full time, but it just has to be consistent. Just like any other thing. I was kind of hoping to find somebody who's more media savvy than we are, like a marketing person. I've reached out to a couple people. They're busy doing other things, so that might be one of the early people we want to rope in. But anyway, the
Google mentality was like, if you ever read that book by the guy who was the first marketing manager to go public, what was his name? Edward something. Like Google hated marketing.
Yeah, agreed.
Yeah, they hated it. They didn't not want to put money into marketing. Every marketing idea he came across. Yeah. Yep. 100%. Yep.
Notice
okay. All right. It's cool. Sweet.
Now this is. I think there's a lot of things that Facebook and Google have done wrong, but their ability to build products, they have their shit tight.
Oh no,
and that's why they've, in my opinion, that's why they've won consistently, because they know when it comes to products, they know their shit. We didn't actually have a definition of a product manager until my last years at Yahoo, right before it got sold. And that's why we lost, because we didn't understand how to build products. We understand how to build tech. So marrying those two, that's how you win.
What year did you join Yahoo? Roughly.
I left. I left in 10, so it would have been 2006.
That's funny.
Is that right?
Yeah, because I knew people who were there.
I'm getting my dates mixed up.
I knew people who were there in the 90s. That's how old I am.
Oh, the early days. Yeah. Why I worked with a guy that was there in the 90s. I actually worked with David Philo. Not every day, but every week. The team I was on, essentially, we were the rough equivalent of the CIO office.
Cool.
So we were essentially there to try to save money, and that was kind of Philo's, main skill at that point, late in the game to Yahoo was to.
Who was the Hollywood streaming media guy who they brought in?
That's hilarious. I got it totally wrong. 2010 to 2014.
Okay, all right.
I can't remember anymore.
No,
Anyway,
it's part of what happens when we get older. I think I'm 15 years older than you. So,
you think?
No, I mean, yeah, I was there through the 90s, and like I said, I was working at Silicon Graphics and all that stuff.
Got it. That's when I was still working as an auto mechanic.
Okay, sweet. Well,
different life.
But fundamentals
and
systems based, or the order of, you can't start here if you don't start there.
It is true. Yeah.
So, so the marketing deal is, that's the thing about marketing is like, if they get it, and I think you're kind of creating something unique. I think there's only a few of these people who get what you're doing, but that's just I don't mean to be negative Nancy, but.
Well, no, I think it's valid because nobody else has done it.
Mm-hmm.
I think there's components of this stuff all around,
mm-hmm.
And I think Data Republican and some others have really caught the attention of a few people.
Mm-hmm.
But the importance of reliable access to data, I mean, that's essentially why Snowflake exists. I mean, that's why Snowflake's been successful, and the whole idea of data pools and data warehouses and such. I mean, in a business sense, people get it, but being able to do that for anything other than a corporation, nobody understands, or is they can't grok what that means
mm-hmm.
and how to actually do that. Kaggle, data.gov, and a few others are kind of sort of almost there, but not quite. And anyway, so melding those two together, or those kind of the infrastructure and the data and the public reporting or journalism on government transparency just doesn't exist.
Yeah.
So
I mean, it's like you're breaking the ring. You're breaking the ring. You're exposing stuff that's supposed to be hidden behind the shadows. So you're like, you're like pulling the curtain, you know what I mean? In a way, it's like.
Well, I think some people like Data Republican and Data.gov have already sort of pierced the veil, so to speak.
Oh, for sure.
But they've been. We need something that kind of starts to bring them together, and certainly without X, I think probably this wouldn't be possible because I wouldn't have met Pierce, I wouldn't have met you. So. I don't know, rotating it back in the day when I was at Yahoo, and I helped start OpenStack. I was on the board for OpenStack for a couple of years, and I wasn't the only guy, but I basically was running and leading the R&D development team at Yahoo for OpenStack, and primarily we're just trying to save money. We weren't trying to do open source. I mean, certainly we weren't trying to do commercial open source. That was actually very bad phrasing back then. I actually, few people stopped talking to me when I started saying that. Commercial and open source shall not be combined. So anyway, obviously the ship has sailed on that. But the point is that all it takes is somebody to kind of start to do some of this stuff and do it reliably and consistently. And suddenly it becomes like, oh, well, that's just what we do. Anyway,
everything you're doing makes me understand that you understand scaling, and that's and your experience. So it's like, start piloting, see how that works. Pick up the mistakes, do it again, iterative.
One of the things that I would love to start doing, I haven't done yet, is to start holding meetups. And that was one of the cool side effects of OpenStack, and I think why commercial open source became a thing. Because we started meeting locally, and it gave all the SDN startups, which there was just an absolutely crazy amount of them back in the 2012, 2014 days, that everyone was trying to build software-defined networking. I guess the veil had been pierced, reusing what you said. And suddenly people are like, oh, I don't have to use Cisco.
Right.
I can build it.
Right.
What?
Right.
I can scale. Wait a
Yeah.
second.
Yeah.
And that was one of the big things that OpenStack helped to spearhead was to help drive the SDN startups. So I started by holding these meetups reliably. Um, I started having all these startups that wanted to that had gotten funded or were about to get funded that wanted to understand how to essentially build off of OpenStack so they didn't have to do it all by hand and do it themselves. So anyway, I think we could do the same thing here. I think that would be like one of the measures of success if we start holding meetups and we start getting a couple hundred people showing up reliably and start popping up in Boston and New York and DC and other places, and people start creating their own without us even asking.
I mean,
That would be
there's the other thing is the intent of the sincerity of what you're trying to do is one thing, but then the question is how do you vet chaos characters that are paid to infiltrate? Which I hate to talk like that, but I'm just is there a hiring vetting process that you can go through where you're like,
I have some experience with that.
Oh, cool. All right, cool. Perfect.
So one of the side effects of running OpenStack that VMware and Cisco, for some strange reason, thought we were out to
hurt them.
Get them.
Well, I think Cisco's always that way, but
and they were completely wrong. But at the same time, we weren't really, so to speak, targeting them. We were just trying to go beyond what they were willing to support, because they were essentially they were a barrier to us being able to scale. So I wanted to run 5 terabyte backplane, or at least have the ability to do that, and working with Cisco is impossible.
Right.
Now I know the hardware could support it, but none of their products would support it because they just flat out refused. So we had to do these complicating tiering leaf spine networks that were insanely complicated, but essentially made it so that we could actually run multi-terabyte backplanes.
Cool.
We could actually build a cluster that would operate at that speed, and we wouldn't have to go to Silicon Graphics or somebody else to buy a supercomputer. And to a certain extent, some of what we were doing was building Hadoop backplanes, so we could do parallel computing. Anyway, but VMware and Cisco were very much opposed to this because they wanted to sell more licenses, somewhat what Broadcom's doing right now.
Right.
So we were not necessarily targeting them, but trying to move beyond them. So I think the same thing will happen here. And now we're not big enough for some of those folks to give a shit about us.
Right.
But, as soon as we are, then they'll start showing up.
At some point, at some point, they're going to try.
Yeah. So long story short, I have some experience on both at the board level, but also at the meetup level of how to deal with that.
Yeah, cool. That's perfect. I mean, that was the most shocking thing I learned in the 90s is in startups, how literally because of rivalry in the success of VCs or like seed money guys or whatever, they wanted to undermine other who they saw as a competition in a sprint. You know what I mean? So they would undermine the startup specifically for their own gamification. It had nothing to do with whether the product was good or it was just undermining for the success. I didn't have that much money. I didn't think about that. But when I started to talk to people later in the 90s, I'm like, holy crap, people think this way.
The infiltration into the standards bodies, that was very much like the Wi-Fi protocols and USB. That was 100% to kill the competition, kill it in the crib. They were not trying to build anything new. It was all a defensive play. They wanted to slow down the competition, which is to me a very, it's more of a sales mentality than it is an engineering mentality. You're not trying to build anything great. You're just trying to kill the competition.
Yeah, it's literally just chaos agents that are on the outside, or just a sense of competition to undermine somebody else so that you can hurt their success. Just stuff that in the 90s didn't really exist in my level because I wasn't at the C level, but it was just It's just the way people are. It's just how it is. So anyway, cool. Well, you have
Money attracts money, and publicity attracts those personalities,
yeah, that's right.
which they're necessary evil.
Yeah, yeah,
We can't survive without sales channels to a certain extent. You get to a certain size of a company, you have to have
Eric
the
Schmidt.
marketing and salespeople.
You got to have Eric Schmidt.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I help prevent printing from working better, because when I was working at Radius, first job out of college, I got into color science, which is all about matching the print to the monitor. Because I was good at math and was willing to dig into a problem, and our competitor Supermac back in the day founded this thing that came out of left field, where we had made this deal with Pantone to do Pantone chips, and we were going to be their official monitor calibrator. And Supermac decided to do like an end run and got Pantone. They said, well, we're going to form this association of color developers, and we're going to have conferences and stuff. And they recruited some of the other people like Kodak and so on to say, hey, we're going to make printing better. And so I went there, and I immediately realized that like none of that was going to work unless you started building. You had to calibrate a scanner, which you could do with a known target. And the monitor was easy. And then if you calibrated the scanner, then you could use that to calibrate the printer. And I said, okay, we're going to form like this committee to do calibration. And the person they assigned from Supermac was not that sharp. I says, okay, I'm going to run the calibration committee. And we had like one meeting and never again. And that's why when you print stuff, it doesn't quite match the screen, is because, it wasn't in our interest to like help Supermac.
Yeah, that's crazy. But that's the kind of, that's exactly right. That's a competitive. I didn't know that story, but that's kind of interesting. So back to the thing that you want to do is that you wanted to, I mean, this thing looks great, and I just would hope as long you're you're tightening it up, you're doing everything you need to do.
Well, let me know how you want to help.
Okay.
I think we're pretty open. So Pierce and I have been meeting pretty regularly for the past couple of months, kind of getting closer and closer to what we're doing now. I think if we can find if we can get some kind of stream of money coming in, then it's just a matter of kind of execution. I think we have a list of, maybe this is a way of explaining it. So take a look at the pitch that I posted out there. Hopefully you can find it. If you go to, did you find it already?
I didn't.
Okay, no, that's fine. You don't have to do it right now. But if I hit it a little bit, so if you go to my DM and then click on about, it will take you to the digital pitch. And there's also a downloadable like page and a half. And I have a full deck that's about 35 pages right now.
Sweet.
But the basic idea is that we want to support the long-term storage of open data. We want to support Doge related projects, which is another way of saying government transparency projects. And to do that, we're going to create this commercial company called D Media to help essentially fund some of the oversight, the administration, essentially.
Yeah, I guess I was looking at the pitch. I just didn't see the / pitch until you mentioned it. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah. It's pretty sweet, dude.
Well, feel free to share it with others. I think it's the site and I think the basic concept is at least 80% of the way there. Needs some little tweaks, but the more input, the more people contributing. I'm I think both Pierce and I are 100% open to it. One of the things that kind of was a forcing function for us is that Stephen, about I'm sorry, you know him as Aladdin, 1983 on Twitter or X. He decided to go to Ukraine about a week ago, just out of the blue. It's like, I'm leaving, and we're like, what? So, but it's I'm sure it's something he's been thinking about for a while. He has a lot of contacts in Ukraine. He's got a lot of contacts in the Middle East based on his previous work and his previous life before he came to the States. Or I guess he came anyway, whatever, his story. So to support him, he's over there doing basically talking to people. He's doing on the ground reporting, journalism. There's a few other people doing similar things, but essentially, how can we support him? Because it's very similar to, it's in line with what we want to support with what I just talked about with D Media. It's very much in line. It's journalism. It's looking at real world events. I'd love to be able to support somebody that's in Argentina, for example.
Sure.
Because there's a lot of stuff going on. Uruguay. There's some other South American countries. I think those two are probably the safest. But just looking at what the heck's going on down there, I hear and read a little bit about it, but obviously, there's only so much I can do because I'm, half a country away or thousands.
Yeah.
It would be awesome if we could help get the word out and support the kind of journalism as well. Much like how I was talking about JJ Smith in San Francisco and the guy in Oakland, and I'm sure there's tons of other cities. They're doing some of the work. It'd be awesome if we could help at least get their message out. If not, give them a little bit of financial help, which they're not getting right now. Partially because they're not interested in it. It's not their focus. But it would be cool if we could.
I mean, I do think that OMG thing is because it made James Lindsay have to reinvent himself again after doing it the first time. So I think there's a lot of value based off of his experience that he wrapped up into how to be one of these journalists. And he's a lot more just narrow, but I mean, still it's in his scope of what you're doing. You're talking about sort of like a BBC is what you're talking about, like in modern day BBC in a way, sort of a little bit.
Yeah. One that's not ideologically captured.
Right. Absolutely. Yeah. Not that they just have, you go anywhere in the world, and I haven't traveled that much, but you'll always see two things, like a BBC reporter and a Coca-Cola machine.
Valid. All right.
Yeah.
Didn't think of it that way.
Anyway, it's cool. Just something to think about where I'm just trying to use ideas that you're saying and template it across what makes sense and why not learn from people that have already been through this.
I definitely do not want to reinvent the wheel. I hate that.
Let's start with starting with developing our own language. How about that? We'll start building apps on our own language. No.
Yeah.
Let's call Bill Joy. Maybe he can do it for us.
So one of the interesting things I did, and I was kind of, I guess, proud of myself a little bit, is a month ago, I decided to build templates for new Doge contributors. So I built one on Ruby for Jenkins support, and I built one on Next for Node support. And then, so when I built the DMedia site, I actually used the Next.js template, and that's why I was able to build it so quickly, because I already had the template out there. So I kind of, I don't know if I proved anything, but I made it easier on myself. I didn't have to build it from scratch. I built it from something that I built a month before. So hopefully others sometimes soon do the same thing.
Last time I was talking, we were talking about, okay, if you have connected all these other networks and then you get access to all this stuff and you want to sort of normalize it, and if that's even possible to normalize it, but you build a cache that's offline of the data. Remember that was the last time I was talking to you guys. We had brought
so that's the DOOD idea, the Department of Open Data, which Michelle came up with. So yeah, that's what we want to do, because it's essentially it's a meld of like data.gov and Kaggle. So each of those have, some good things they've done, but neither of them are complete. They have huge gaps. But if we were able to meld the two, make a baby, my thinking was maybe use OCI as their object store because it's
I've never used it. I
relatively.
don't know. Yeah.
I'm sorry, Oracle something. I don't know. It's
Okay.
Oracle Cloud essentially.
Mhm.
But they have a relatively generous free tier of object storage, and possibly if I can get their attention, maybe they'd be willing to give us a grant. So I'm thinking that the dude thing we could actually create a 501c3 to
I saw
manage.
that. I saw that. That was a tag 501c3 on your site for that, right? I think so.
I think so.
Yeah. Under mission and vision, you had dude, and you had
Yeah.
501c3.
So that's what our objectives is to actually spin that off. Doesn't have to be done tomorrow, but sometime soon, so that we could get grants because we're going to be relative, a little bit partisan focused, but it's not going to be, too much. But it's probably too much for most of the granting organizations. But open data, you don't get any more nonpartisan than that. It's just raw data. So if we could spin that off while still supporting it, and probably the same people still working on it. But that work, and I have some experience doing this actually at a couple of groups where we had nonprofit spinoffs where we still worked on them. But anyway, that seems to work. That doesn't break any of the legal
Right. Corporate. Yeah. Like, I think one of the things I was saying is just in case some goofy things happens with the data that people are playing with, we actually have a copy where we can, just that we don't put online, which was just like a massive.
Exactly. And that's actually one of the things I started doing with California Doge.
Cool.
I'd love to do more of it. Is I actually pull down, for example, all the workforce data. I pull it down once a month, and they repost everything, which is kind of interesting. It's like, why would you need to do that? So that made me very suspicious of looking back to the 2012 data going, are you changing that?
Is it the same?
Yeah. So why would you even think that's necessary to do that? It's a very odd behavior. So that made me very suspicious. And I started noticing that in certain years, I don't think they're doing it on purpose or for nefarious reasons. I think it's some of the departments suck and don't report well, or maybe reported bad data and now they're fixing it in arrears without telling anybody. So I can start capturing that. So we could start doing that with Dude as well. Start constantly pulling down the public data sources and then also doing a diff and saying,
that's the thing I was saying is that, like I said, you can get like a QNAP NAS for like a couple of those QNAP NASs, and you can easily get 60 terabytes of data easily or something, and just put it in there in a RAID array, and then you have that thing trickling on a private network.
Go ahead. I was kind of hoping that if I started using the free tier of Oracle cloud resources, that I could get the attention of one of their granting organizations or Ellison himself and say, hey, wouldn't it be nice if
he just came back into the fold? He was like away from it, and I don't remember, or he just went to the board. So he had some managerial adjustment. I don't remember what it was.
He's no longer the CEO. They hired somebody recently to be the CEO. So I don't know if that means he's the president now, or I don't know.
He's on the board, I guess. They brought him back on the board, and they said it was a good idea. But then he just got the huge contract for the ID thing, like the World ID thing or something like that. Did he? Is that right? I don't know.
Doesn't sound familiar.
There's like some national or
so for like the Real ID database or something like that.
I think there's something tied to Oracle contracts on that.
Does that sound familiar? I know you're coding right now.
We've
lost his attention.
Oracle, yeah.
I've been around
Yeah.
Pierce enough that I can tell when he's coding.
Well, I did move
Right.
you to the other screen so I can look
Thank
at the
you.
screen when I'm talking to you and not be like,
Oh,
oh,
good.
this all the time. But
Okay.
yeah. So my Oracle story, because everything's always a story with me, as you've learned. In a lot of startups, I would call up Oracle and I'd say, how much is Oracle? And they would say, how much money do you have? And I would
That
say,
is the right
what
question.
does that matter? And they say, well, we have to know how much to charge you. And I'm like, and then at the time they were all like per user charges. And I'm like, I'm trying to do a website. I can't pay you per user. That's not how it works. And they're like, oh, well, okay.
That's what we do.
That's what we do. And I'm like, yeah, that's not how it works. Unless I'm going to get to use one user and run the whole database through that. Are you going to be happy with that? And then at some point, like IBM had a more sensible thing for DB2. They just charged you based on the processor, and they didn't care how many users you had.
Right.
So it's like whatever you spend on the hardware determined how much you spend on the software.
I remember those early days of those kinds of conversations with Oracle and VMware and other salespeople, or Cisco as well. It's just how much can I extract from you?
Or it'd be like Intel, and you just start with telling them everything you plan on doing. Then you say, okay, now you, and they're like, yeah, I'm not telling you any of that stuff. That's all private. That's what Intel typically always did. They took unsuspecting potential partners, and they'd be like, come on, we're so excited. Come on in here. Go ahead. Let us know what you're doing, whatever. And then you say, okay, now you guys tell me. And they're like, we're not telling you anything.
Yeah. This is a one-way street. Didn't you know that?
Apple too. Yeah. Or a VP of engineering I worked for. He interviewed at Radius, and then he went and talked. Well, actually, he went and talked to his buddy at the CEO of Supermac, Steve Edelman, and Steve gave him his dump on where he thought the monitor industry was going to, and then he interviewed at Radius and became the VP of engineering and basically executed on what Steve told him.
Yep.
And it's like, and he was telling me this story. It's like, I don't think Steve ever really forgave me for that. And I'm like, now I know where the rivalry came from. Must get Radius.
Right.
And then Rasterops came out of nowhere and made us all get into ASICs.
Blood in that water.
The blood in that water, right? That's a good point. Yeah. So, well, I think what you did was pretty damn cool. I mean, you got a lot going on. Do you even have a full-time job? Is this like your full-time thing now, or you just?
This is my full-time thing now. Yeah.
Sweet.
I'm dabbling with a few other things. So I'm working on an AI education startup with a friend of mine, actually from Yahoo. So that's probably never going to make that much. If anything, it might break even at some point. but I've been involved in tech and education, and a long time ago, my wife and I and some friends started charter school in our hometown.
Oh, that's so cool.
So, but it was a necessary thing to do at the time. It became less necessary over time, but yeah. So I kind of caught that bug, and I've never really
left it.
I don't think I have the diligence to be a professor, but I've always wanted to help education. So this is my.
I mean, the passion's always there, and if you can help the youth get better educated,
Yeah.
Maybe just kind of. Go ahead.
Well, just like a 10-second summary. The different education departments. I'm working with California, or specifically, but different education departments in the country are all freaking out over what to do with AI and what the standards are and how to implement it. Very similar to when the internet came around.
Right.
And then there's the opposite side of like the math Olympiads and physics Olympiads. That type of super tiger type parents and teachers, academics. They're trying to teach kids how to like build the math equivalent of rockets. It's like, well, is there something in between? Can we come somewhere in between, please? So me and my colleague are working on essentially making a practical in between that would be adoptable by different education departments, that wouldn't be like all code, all math, and like all just give kids a chat GPT interface and let them go at it. There's a weird collection of different personalities around using AI based on their past experience, and they for whatever reason can't seem to look beyond of like, well, what do kids really need? Like, no,
Right.
really, what do they really need? Putting a laptop in front of them at like age 5 is not going to be helpful. Maybe at a junior, okay, maybe.
Exactly.
But
That's true.
People just they're so like stuck on traditional academic approach or traditional tech all approach. Like, do we need teachers anymore? I'll just stick them in front.
I'll give you. I'll just
odd.
two things that came to mind, which is that one is that you know about Khan Academy. Obviously, I don't know what they're doing with AI and what their future is, and then what's his name from Palantir? He's doing some sort of educational something or another.
Yeah, Carp. Yeah.
Yep, you know about that. Okay, cool.
Yeah. So I think there's a lot of goodness, but ironically, in Silicon Valley, there's nobody doing this. There's only like Khan Academy, everything online. We don't need teachers approach. And then there's the other of the academics that were actually terrified that they're going to lose their jobs.
Yeah, the union thing. Yeah,
it's a mess.
Yeah.
So my colleague and I are hoping to kind of split the difference and actually put together some curriculum, totally reusing what already exists with code.org and some others. Mm-hmm. There's an MIT organization, there's a couple others, and melding together into something that's actually practical.
Usable. Yeah.
Rather than all theory or all implementation. There's some folks that are doing nothing but vibe coding. It's like, okay, but what have you actually taught them? Nothing.
Right, exactly.
So you built a game. You rebuilt asteroids. Yay.
What is that? Right. Yeah. That's like the old days. Here's my Java app. And it's like, or here's an ATM machine.
It doesn't help them at all. So,
no.
And anyway, so I'm working on that part-time with a friend of mine. So one of the things that we hope to get to is to do essentially a training material, and then once a year maker fairs. So meld the kind of creativity of what the 3D community has been doing, mm-hmm. and meld it with AI, so that you're actually building things. Because that's one of the cool things in the maker fairs is there's no bullshit. Either you can build something or you can't.
Yeah.
There is no in between. And for the AI stuff, it would be really nice to have some really practical, like using the tool for something that, understanding a little bit of the theory, but not too much, just enough to be dangerous and to actually build some things. And if you're not into that, cool, don't do it. Yeah. But then, anyway,
Anyway, Sal Khan was the first one to say, "Hey, I want to make this into something." That was by accident. You know his story.
The Khan story. Actually, I don't think I do.
He's Pakistani, and his parents are like, you better get a 4.2 in school, and you're going to go in international finance. And he like, yes, dad, da 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 da, and then like his cousins wanted him to explain to them how basic like arithmetic works. So he started doing these like Blackboard things or whiteboard things on YouTube. And he started doing that thing, and then all of a sudden he said, I learned two things. One thing is my cousins never really wanted to see me in person, and two, he said, that this got a lot of traction. And then not only was that going to my cousins, but then they were sharing the videos, and all of a sudden the view rate starts shooting up. Meanwhile, he's like, I gotta be international finance and do like, venture capital ideas and all this stuff, and that's what he was trained for. And it was that and that and that. And he said it was the most like independent, thing where he cuts the umbilical cord with his dad. He's like, Dad, I'm leaving it. I'm going and I'm doing this thing full time. And that was a cool. Just a real quick recap of that, is that he decided, but he's the guy who's coming from that, deciding based on the momentum he gets, and he sees the opportunity because there's a gap, but it's not based on seed money or venture. Nobody was interested in that, right? Nobody was doing anything, like you said. Nobody. It's the same thing with AI. No one's thinking about all they're talking is a boisterous garbage that they talk about human cloning, or it's any of these leading edge where nobody understands anything. And it's just
Right.
like, let's talk about the $4 billion contract, and no one's thinking about guys, like, what are we doing here? Like, we
What's in
gotta,
between. Yeah.
yeah.
So interesting aside, and I'll um, well, interesting aside is my colleague I went to a CDE meeting a couple weeks ago in Sacramento, which is there's an AI policy work group. Total waste of time. It was worth it for me to have FaceTime so some of these people know who I am, because I've gone to a couple of the meetings now. But as far as what they were actually doing, it was nothing. It was just a bunch of busy work. Anyway, separate discussion. So that's on one end of the spectrum. They're just talking about like theory of how they could write up AI policies for all the schools in the state, which nobody's going to follow. So, okay, they're keeping themselves busy, but so there was that experience. And my colleague went to a meeting of these folks that are running national AI Olympiads. And long story short, it was all math focused, very, interesting, but really focused on the folks that are the 1% of the 1% that are involved in AI. People that are building models from scratch, developing new tests, really understanding how why PyTorch works, understanding linear algebra. Okay, cool. But that's like the most exclusive skill set. Not only there's only a finite number of those jobs, much like genetics back in the day, but even today, still, there's only so many jobs for geneticists. If you make a million of them, there's going to be probably 500,000 that won't have jobs, or there'll be
more,
age, pipetting shit. So there's a lot of that. I think is what my concern is, that there's a bunch of people that are like not equipped to use like AI tooling or be trained up on what's AI and what's the actual practical use of it, and what kids going through high school really need, which I don't think is very much actually, but to be dangerous.
No, but you gotta set them on the path and the trajectory that makes sense, not just like, I mean, and if you look at the way modern day, it's kind of interesting. If you look at the way modern day textbooks are made and vetted, it turns out that Richard Feynman actually enjoyed going through textbooks before they're released to okay them or not. And he would talk about how preposterous some of these books were, but now it's like completely out of control what they're
written
doing
by
with textbooks.
Academics or people that aren't connected to the real world. Because both of these groups that I just talked about, the California Department of Education and this math or AI Olympiad, they are not connected to the real world at all.
No.
They're not ready to teach anybody anything, or at least not a large group of people. Maybe a couple hundred. So
but that's not how you become advanced in that. It's
yeah. So you're not going to be able to teach high school kids linear algebra. I'm sorry. There's certainly a few, but they're the ones that are getting you're the 1% that are able to get into MIT or other Ivy League schools on a math scholarship, which is a very small group of people. It's like,
in fact, there's a lot of competition. Yeah, there's a lot of foreigners who are competitive with that group. But yeah, I just it's interesting. Probably NVIDIA might have some sort of stuff where they might want to invest, or what's his name, who's in Trump's.
I wouldn't be surprised. I mean, anyway, so my friend and I we're getting very close to boiling it down to something practical that's over 2 months.
That's so cool.
Yeah. So fundamentals up to building a storefront.
Awesome.
But the focus is not so much that building the storefront is the purpose, just that it is possible, and to give people that kind of experience of what it means, but to put it in very practical terms so they understand, hey, this is like interesting and possible, but it's not like the end goal. This is not like your career. This is just, you have to learn other things like how to run a business and other things. This is, building an application or learning all the math behind how PyTorch works is probably not going to give you the skills to succeed in life. It's just one of the tools, and
Right.
in some cases, one of the minor tools. Because obviously, to build a business nowadays, you don't need AI. You don't need
Mm-mm.
AI bullshit at all.
No.
But it could help you be more successful. It could help you
Right.
be more productive, and
Right.
that's not going to change anytime in the future.
No. No. No.
So
Yeah. They just had that AI summit for All In. Well, no, it's like 4 months ago, but they were interviewing some interesting people. They had a good survey on that. I think it was like a 3-part All In series where they were talking about. There's some guy who specifically goes into factories and helps these guys turn around their factory to be way, way, way more productive because they're going to use AI controlling on top of the robotics that are the modern robotics, so that you can get guys who are at Home Depot or who were working for lawfare stuff, and they were so disgusted with it that they wanted to do something to help build the country. So he was talking about, that aspect was kind of interesting. They've done some pilot programs anyway. But all right, so
that's cool.
yeah, I work full time doing basically at this point I'm IT operations security as a contract out for small businesses, and just kind of found a niche there because it's kind of simple, and
It's definitely
doing
necessary. Yeah.
doing family stuff. It gives me the ability to do family stuff. I love my time out when I had Silicon Valley, when I had Silicon Graphics, and in that world, and those people, a lot of those guys went to NVIDIA, but that world was awesome, and to this day is still hugely impactful to my vision and things, understanding stuff. So anyway, but
it's a different lifestyle for sure.
Yeah, for sure.
Yep. So I won't say that I won't start commuting anytime soon, but that's, when my kids were young, I was not able to be very present because during the week and for part of the weekend, I was just a zombie.
Right.
Commuting most of the time 2 hours a day, and sometimes 3. And when I was working at Stanford, it was more like 4.5 every day.
Where were you living?
Livermore.
So you Livermore to Yahoo Mountain View? Is that okay?
Menlo Park in San Jose. I mean, that's been, and I've done San Francisco as well, but Menlo Park was by far the most brutal.
I was right. Yeah, I was right by Page Mill, and then for a while there, I was right behind Kepler's.
Yeah, so it was close, just like a mile away from me.
Crazy. Yeah, 10 years before.
So
anyway.
Yeah. So I'm. Anyway.
Okay. So back to this.
Yeah.
I gotta probably head out soon, but this is very cool, and this is good. I want to be able to be on these restreams more. So I just got to get notified of them. I just saw it in a text that you sent to me, DM on X, and that's what got me in.
I'm not sure how to schedule them.
Yeah. Don't you have 4:30 2 days a week or something? You're thinking that or something?
4:00. So 4:00 on Wednesday. So actually, this is the way. I created a calendar on Doge Network. So if you subscribe to that, you will know when the meetings are. I'm going to try to get really good at adding the streaming addresses.
Okay.
And so there'll be that. So you'll be able to join the streams 100% that way. Join the conversation. So what I need to do is to there's a private chat, a private group message board. I guess I don't know what to call it, message thingy on X. I can add you to that, and I'll continue to post the speaker link.
Okay, cool.
So, and you're welcome to join any of them.
Thank you.
So the primary reason why I'm not posting the speaker link is to avoid troublemakers, essentially.
Right, of course. Yeah.
So, okay. But pretty much so far, possibly because we haven't gotten that big yet, is that I haven't had too many people try to cause trouble.
No, you're off the chart still, but yeah.
but I'm kind of organizing in a way, just expecting it to happen sooner than later. So,
Of course.
but in the meantime, I'll try to do things as open as possible. So,
All right, man. Listen, thank you so much for including me and listening to my crazy, wacky ideas and getting to know me a little more.
yeah,
And
More the merrier.
yeah,
We're all about the
and
crazy, wacky ideas here in Dude.
but yeah, I mean, this is really awesome what you built so far, and I'd love to see how this thing comes together and see how I can maybe get involved in some way that's valuable.
awesome. Are you in the Silicon Valley area, or have you moved out?
No, I'm not anymore. Now I'm in Charlotte, North Carolina.
Mm.
So
Bit of a drive.
way out. Yeah, it always hurt me on that commute. So
yeah,
go from Charlotte going across country, but my passion is there, and I'm underrepresenting my mental abilities, and if I can get involved in some way, I'd like to do that. You know what I mean? Like on a valuable way, because I think I'm pretty passionate about wanting to get people to be aware of this, what Doge has been doing and accomplishing and exposing, and I think it's phenomenal. And to have that, California's largest, the biggest state in the nation. So that's where
for better or
the
worse,
biggest bleed is right now. Yeah. So.
Yeah. And I'm hoping that that the redistricting gets overturned by the courts, but and I'll leave you with this thought before you go.
Okay.
I've recently got involved with I've been registered as a declined estate for a very long time, over a decade. I recently registered as Republican, which caused some family trauma. But
did you bring them up to speed as to what that means? Did you explain to them that the Trump administration has like 30 to 40% ex-Democrats in it? Well, no, if you say Trump, it's going to piss them off. Right?
Yeah, it's a longer conversation of why that's hard or not. But nevertheless, what I did is I have a few connections of in the Republican Party. So I was able to join the Central Committee for Alameda County.
Wow.
And I'm finding that the Republican county GOP groups, which are supposed to be kind of supposed to be the lifeblood of how people get elected, and curating financing for candidates and finding candidates and getting them set up, giving them the tools, all those things, completely disorganized. Probably not a massive surprise to you, but to the point where I've been we're just starting to do in-person meetings again, which is whatever.
First time. That's crazy.
Okay.
Do they come with masks or no?
No, luckily, but the amount of help they need to be able to field an actual candidate, not necessarily somebody who's atypically Republican, but just somebody who's actually that's thinking
conservative
about businesses and like, hey, wouldn't it be nice if the Tesla factory in Fremont expanded?
Right.
Things like that, so people can get jobs. Hey, Alameda Shipyard is empty. Maybe we could start some businesses there. Have you heard of Forever California? How they're building a new city in Solano County?
No.
So it's a sad fact that they got $1 billion from Andreessen and a few others to build a city from scratch that's essentially a replacement Silicon Valley. And
this never works. It'll never work.
Well, they've got the money. But the sad thing to me is a lot of people are saying, wow, we should really do this, which is like, don't we have Silicon Valley? Did I miss something?
But there's a lot of people. I mean, it's like I appreciate the enthusiasm, as a friend of mine used to say. But I mean, look, if Elon leaves and goes to, you know what I mean? If he's going to get his home base elsewhere and everyone's moving,
they say it's too hard. Hey, screw this, I'm out.
Then you've got another problem, which is that you've got a lot of people who have partisan politics in their engineering, which is now, I think, fading out again. But I mean, you've got those people, all this stuff. It's not what it was. And I don't know if Andreessen understands it totally, but whatever. He's got the money.
And I'll leave you with this thought. I think from what I've seen so far, being on the ground in Silicon Valley in a variety of ways, from an engineering and a politics perspective, it's a freaking mess. It
Yeah.
is absolutely a freaking mess.
Yeah.
So I think the time to disrupt is perfect because
I
it
think
is
so.
such a mess. There's a
Yeah.
whole bunch of money swirling around, a whole bunch of
Yes. Yeah.
assumption on way things have always worked, and it just needs to be disrupted because we have a Silicon Valley already. We have still a ton of startups, ton of VC, a ton of people. Let's just start to fix it. Shouldn't be that hard.
Yeah, and voting. I mean, 400,000 precincts, only 220,000 precincts have committeemen in it. The average precinct participation average for voting for people who are registered voters is 14%. If you move that to 28%, or go on just underneath 50%, you're 200%. So that's landslide stuff. So people stop with apathy. They look at the the successes of Doge. Like, they just don't know. They also don't know about the capture of mainstream media, how a lot of the media is now, and that's why X is so powerful to us. It keeps us in our consciousness in a different light, but so many people are just still believing it's like the brethren of the media network. So it's like informing them about alternate media, informing them about the value of a vote. I don't know. I'm sorry. I'll get off my grandstand.
No, I'm there with you. I mean, but we are still a couple steps away from there, but I think we're on the path. If we can be successful with D-Media, I think in a very modest way, I think we're definitely on that track because I'd like the first customers or some of the first customers for D-Media to be these GOP
it's a great idea.
Republican parties in Silicon Valley because they need
It's
help.
a great idea.
And they don't necessarily have to pay us up front. We can just kind of prove that we can do it. And it's not actually that hard. I mean, it takes effort, but it's not like we have to reinvent anything. We just need to show up and actually do work.
How novel is that?
Yeah.
I mean, when you were in Yahoo, it's the same thing. And Yahoo, or the people who were there before you, those people all hauled ass. They busted their butt off. They all did. Same with Silicon Valley. I mean, everybody did. And that's still out there with certain select people. So.
Yep. It's very possible.
All right, guys. Thank you so much.
Nice to meet you.
Nice meeting you. I'll talk to you soon. I'll see you next one.
Okay. All right. Have a good one, Ari.
You too. Thanks. Bye.
I'm going to go make myself an anti-commie cheeseburger.
I didn't know that existed.
Yeah, it's a Jesse Kelly recipe that Data Republican said was good. And I was like, what is it? And I asked Rock, and it said, oh, this is what I think the recipe is. And I was like, okay. It's like half a bottle of Chipotle Tabasco. For a pound of hamburger, it's half a bottle of Chipotle Tabasco.
Okay.
Like a tablespoon of garlic powder, a tablespoon of seasoned salt, mixed together with the hamburger, and then you form it into patties. And what I do is I actually made 2 pounds at once, and then at the $1.50 store I got a patty maker, and then I put them in Ziploc bags and store them in the freezer so I can pop them out and have a cheeseburger.
All right, that sounds pretty good. I think if you added molasses and some Worcestershire sauce to it. Not a huge amount, but I'd be 100% in.
Okay.
Because that's kind of the basic ingredients for most barbecue sauce are those. And there's a lot of variations, of course. But if you add those two components, you obviously don't want to overdo it because, too much molasses and too much Worcestershire sauce is overpowering. But it adds a bit of complexity to things. So just
okay.
All right, bro.
Okay.
Thanks for sticking with me for so long. You spent your whole morning with me, so I appreciate it.
I did, but I'm starving now. Wow, it's 1:00. Wow. Yeah.
All right.
I've been talking for 4 hours. Wow. And we were running around before Ari showed up, and we started talking to Ari.
Yeah. All right. I'm going to have to go soak my head. So